All right, we are live. We are live right now. What's up, everybody? What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Kava podcast. You guys already know who I am. My name is Will. I am the host of this show. I am super excited today. I am super excited. I have a very special guest, one of our Polynesian sisters, all the way from the Bay Area. You know, I'm from the Bay too, so you already know all my Bay Area fam out there. What's up? You already know how we do it in the Bay. But she is the founder and executive director of the Oakland Pacific Islander Network. And of course, she is an entrepreneur. She's a mentor. She's doing her thing on social media. That's how I found her. So I love her energy and vibes. And I'm so grateful today for her taking the opportunity to be on here. And I'm ready to hear her life story and, of course, share that with you guys. And real quick, if you guys watching this and tuning in for the very first time, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Please show some love and support. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And everybody out there has been showing me so much love and support and send me some positive messages. Thank you so much for all the love and support. You guys actually inspire me to keep going and keep doing what I'm doing. So thank you so much. Mad love and respect to everybody. But let's get back to these guests. Let's get back to this guest of this podcast. I'm excited. I'm fired up. Let's go. But I'll let her introduce herself real quick. So go ahead. It's all you.
Hello, everybody. I am excited to be here. My name is Alina Faaola. I do live in the Bay Area, but I'm actually originally from LA County. So yes, I'm a California girl. I think Will said it all. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I love this platform. I like that you said that your goal, the reason for this podcast is to start the conversation. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like being a person who does kind of I don't know what it's called, like the deep work, like this is literally where it starts, is literally start the conversation. And so, so thank you for having me.
All right, let's go. I'm fired up. I'm fired up, Alina.
Yes.
And I'm ready to start this conversation. So, and like I said, one more time, thank you so much for this opportunity, and very grateful for you to be taking the time to be here. But I'll ask you the very first question. How did you grow up?
How did I grow up? So when you said that you were going to ask this question, I think the first thing that I thought about was that I didn't grow up necessarily like the poly way, like entirely. I didn't grow up in church. Yeah, I didn't grow up in church. The area that I grew up in was predominantly like Mexican, Asian and Mexican, or Asian and Hispanic, excuse me. And so that's kind of how I grew up. So I actually didn't have any Pacific Islander friends until high school. And so that was very different. But yeah, I think I shared with you, I didn't have any exciting things. But we were definitely a household that I was exposed to both Samoan and Mexican, because I'm a quarter Mexican. So I was exposed to both of these cultures equally. And so, I think, does that answer your question of how I grew up?
Yeah, partly.
Okay.
Partly. So I'm interested to hear. So, because I always feel like our experiences as a child has a really big impact of who we become. It's like the groundwork, the foundation of we end up who we become later in life. So I'm interested to hear, because you said you grew up without Polynesians, without culture, did you grow up within the culture? Not really.
Yeah, no, for sure, yes, but my everyday environment wasn't extremely cultural, I guess.
Okay, so
my best friends growing up were Black and Mexican, and so I didn't have too much of exposure to any Polynesian friends.
Yeah.
Until high school. Yeah.
It's cool. So so I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, and I guess we're gonna get on this topic. So so you didn't grow up. So I think for me, just and the people that be watching this podcast, the one thing we always talk about a lot, one of the main topics we always talk about is culture. But we also talk about how our culture sometimes can hinder us from growing based on the morals and values and the way we get taught growing up and the couple of mindset we have. So you grew up without Polynesians, and then but also later you say in high school later you got to hang out with a lot of Polynesians. So you had the opportunity to see the both worlds.
Yeah.
And I know today you're a inspiring coach and mentor online. I love what you do, by the way, online. So I want to ask you, what do you, in your experience, what was like the positive, or what was the positive thing about growing outside of culture, and the lessons and the things that added to your growth, and the things that you feel like that because you grew up that way? Because for me, I didn't grow up when I came to America. I didn't grow up. I moved around. I didn't grow up with Polynesians. Well, even though I did grow up in Tonga, but when I moved here, we stayed in a lot of cities where just no Polynesians.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, I think for me it was very. At first, I thought it was weird. I was uncomfortable talking to other Balangis and Black people because I grew up my whole life with Tongans. But now I look back at it, I'm so grateful because it allowed me to go outside my culture, and it changed my mind and my mindset and my perspective in life. And I feel like if I didn't go through that, then I would have been limited to the ways of thinking of a lot of Polynesians and Tongans go through. So I just want to ask you, what was your experience going up in both ways? What were the things that you saw within the Polynesian culture as far as the mindset of how everybody thinks, and compare it to being outside the culture and growing up with your other friends? And how did that kind of like form your own mind, your own individual, unique mind? And because that's why I'm interested to hear like your thought and experience of, because you took the both worlds,
That's
and you
best,
kind of
best of both worlds.
the best of both worlds, and then you formed, and then just talk, and then you can just talk about the pros and cons. What was the good things about being out? What you learned from other friends from in America? What are the things that you don't think was good? And then what did you learn from the Polynesian that was good? But then what did you learn that from the Polynesian mindset that you kind of left that out because you feel like they wasn't adding value or helped you grow?
Yeah, I think one of the main things growing up, not being like like I didn't have Polynesian friends. I didn't know how other Polynesians were except for my cousins, and we were kind of all the same. One pro in growing up outside of the culture in a way, was now as I'm older, I'm 27 now. And I know this is like weird to say or hard to say, or it might be hard to swallow, but a lot of the Polynesian culture is like, like we have to do it family first. And I know, and I value family, and I love family, but I think one of the good things that I've learned is like, if my family is not adding value to my growth, then they cannot come first. Like, does that make sense?
Yes.
So that I would say like that's actually a mindset that I think I have because I didn't necessarily grow up in that type of environment. And I guess it could be a bad thing. But I love and value my family very much, and we're all on the same page. So it hasn't, it hasn't backfired on me. But yeah, so that would be a pro. A con would be like that I wasn't around Pacific Islander people like when I was younger. Like I was the only one. And now that I hear all these things about like how on the internet about how they share like, oh, this is what my teacher would tell me or whatever, all the things. I think I was like, oh, that's like me. Like I was like the golden Poly kid, like the golden island girl in all my, throughout high school too. And so that actually was a con because I just didn't have that support, and I didn't know that I needed it even. And so growing up in, or like knowing culture now, I think one beautiful thing is the aspect of like cultural values, if that makes sense. Like I think I thought, and now I'm like kind of stumbling on my words, but I think I thought that, oh, that's just what we do. Like that's like what my family does when it comes to like cultural values, like respect and all those things. But I realized like, no, that is like because we are Pacific Islanders. Like that's because you are Samoan. Like these are our values as a people. And so that is, yeah, that's been so beautiful to me, realizing like, oh wow, like I am the way that I am because, you know, of our cultural values.
Mhm.
I think a con would just be that mindset. Like I feel like a lot of us have had just like that, like where we hit a roof. Um, yeah. So yeah.
I kind of want to dive into the first thing you talked about, which I feel like it's one of the most important things, and also one of the hardest things to navigate, especially when it comes to like our growth. And you said it best, like, you know, putting family first. And I know, and you know, if you are Polynesian, you're watching this, you already know how it is in the culture. In the Polynesian hierarchy of priorities, it's God, family, and then you starting a family, having kids, and that's it. That's all they care about. Like all they care about is making sure you go to church.
I might actually, I even disagree with that. Sorry. Okay, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So you know, all they care about is you going to church every Sunday. Make sure you look like you're spiritually perfect, and when you don't look like you're doing crazy things. They want to make sure you live that gospel life, and of course, they care about you taking care of your family, handle your responsibility, obligations as a daughter, as a son. Listen to your parents, whatever they ask you, you know, and your family, and then of course, you know, they just want you to find a, especially for women, you know, they want you to get married, have kids early, as fast as you can, and start a family.
Yeah.
So that's usually
Yeah.
like the
And, you know, I think I'm past that.
so that's usually like what they want you, like the lifestyle they want you to live to be considered okay, a normal, good, fulfilling Polynesian life. But I feel like you said, you know, I think you said something. You said, you know, when you're putting yourself first, you said sometimes it may be bad, but in my opinion, I feel like it's never bad if you are doing something for your own happiness. I'm a big advocate for happiness. I feel like I'm a big advocate for happiness where, and this is my opinion, I feel like personal happiness, your own well-being and your own peace in life is supersedes, transcends anything in life. It supersedes family, it supersedes culture, it supersedes your job. If you're at a place right now that it is a situation or an environment that is hurting you, that you are not happy, and it's harming you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and putting you at a place that you actually gonna do harm more to yourself than others, then I feel like it is absolutely necessary for you to put yourself first, and cut all ties. And I know that could be hard to hear within the Polynesian dynamic because, you know, Polynesian culture, the love that I remember I heard this from a podcast before. She said, the love that we're taught in the definition of love in Polynesian culture is the more you sacrifice is the more you love. And that's how we show love. So you only, I know you all, the way we know somebody loves you is the sacrifice they're willing to make for you. And if they don't sacrifice for you, then you're not considered, like I said, if you're a daughter or son, if you don't fulfill your responsibilities or listen to your parents and do everything they ask you to do, make those sacrifices, then you're not considered a good, loving daughter or family member. And the moment you decide to do something for yourself, to focus and make yourself a priority and go down your own path, then that's considered selfish. Oh, you don't love us, which is toxic, by the way. I feel like it's toxic because at the end of the day, you don't know what they're going through in their own life. It's your own life. One of my favorite quotes I always tell people, you know, no matter the expectations and pressures and things that people ask you to do, they want you to, you know, they expect out of you, whether it's your parents or family or the world, society. The problem is, you know, by you fulfilling those expectations, you are the one you have to live with that life. You have to live with the results and the consequences of those expectations. It's not even yours, by the way. It's theirs.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to live. You have to deal with that life. They don't have to they don't have to take any accountability or responsibility of what happens to you because you're making those choices to fulfill those expectations, but you do. So, and of course, as short as life is, I feel like for me, it doesn't make sense for me to see to be unhappy the whole life because life is just too short. And I've seen that so many times where people are just living the life their parents expect them to live.
Yep.
Polynesian families, you know this. You know, if you watch, what's that? I don't know what's that show with Asuelu and
90 Day Fiance.
yeah, 90 Day Fiance. You know,
I was actually there when they met.
Oh yeah.
In Samoa, we were all in Samoa together.
Like if you watch that show, you already know this. You know, the struggle of supporting a family financially, and in whatever they ask you, you have to give, right? And sometimes I see Polynesians, they struggle with themselves because they can't say no to their families because everything they have, they give, and they have nothing for themselves. Like you can't give from an empty cup. So there's so many things and so many things that I just see that I see a lot of people struggle, and that's why for me, like I'm a big advocate when it comes to personal happiness, personal growth, protecting your peace, and putting yourself first. And I feel like it's always a good thing if you're doing that, because at the end of the day, it's your life. It's your life. All right, so that's just my thoughts on it. I want to just put it out there, but I want to ask you your perspective. Also, can you, if you don't mind, share some experiences in your life where you had to put yourself first, and the reactions of your family, or how they responded to you. And also, I want to ask you: did you, and I'm just interested, did you know about that concept of self-love and self-priority? Because I feel like, for me, I didn't even know what that was growing up. Like self-prioritization and putting yourself. I had no idea what that was until later on in life, when I just felt overwhelmed and overburdened by all the obligations my family had upon me, that I finally had to make a decision to take care of me. But I feel like that concept is a foreign concept to a lot of kids. That's why it's always difficult, right? When you finally do it for the first time. I don't know if you ever had that experience when you finally did something for the first time and you felt guilty. I don't know if you ever had that experience. When I did something for myself, I was like, I actually felt bad doing something for myself. Even to this day, when I do something for myself, like I always feel bad for doing it because that's just how I grew up, and I still have those beliefs that they instilled in me, making to putting other people first before me. But yeah, can you talk about that real quick? We good?
Okay. Yes, better. I was literally I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. So yeah, can you talk about that, your own experiences and your own journey of learning about it, growing up early, and then
Self-love.
of self-love, self-priority, and putting yourself first, and you can share some experiences in your life where you had to put your feet down and look, I'm going to do this for me, and even though it may cause some conflict and disappointment within your family.
Yeah. So for me, my parents, and there might be not an issue, but so my parents actually raised us like, you do what you want. And we'll give you the resources and you kind of choose. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So personally within my family, I've never actually experienced that until maybe like choosing to move away. But yeah, so, and I even when I think about like how I grew up, I really hate it, but like, it is like, I was really privileged to like experience that my parents like were able to give us resources to even think like that. So that's actually where it started. Like, so that's where it started. My grandparents both moved to this country from Mexico and from Samoa, literally for that. Like, I think because in their minds, they're thinking like, oh, we want the American life. And that's what they did. They came and built their life so that their children and their grandchildren can have like an American life, which if we go there, I mean, that's a whole different topic. That is a whole colonized mindset where you think American US is the way to go. I'm so sorry, but yeah, no. And so that was like how they actually raised us, is to do, what you want to do for your own happiness or for your own success. However, when I chose to move away, that was actually a big thing because I'm actually the oldest. And yeah, so I was like, well, I want to go to school up here, all la-di-da-di-da. And so that was something that I did for myself. But I would say even the concept of self-love, or the idea of self-love, for me came from like my relationship with God. Like we didn't grow up in church. I wasn't like always Christian. But when I decided and committed my life to God at 18, 19, I don't remember how old I was, like between that, it was right after high school. So 18. So at 18, that's actually how I learned. Because honestly, like when it comes to self-love, I know a lot of people share about self-love, but you really don't know like how to properly love yourself well unless you know like how much God loves you. And so
Preach.
that is
Nice.
where I learned something.
I like that.
Yes,
I like
that is where I learned that from.
Can you talk about your conversation with your parents and their reaction when you told them, "Hey, I'm going to move," and then how that conversation went, and because I'm just interested, because I know a lot of, because I think that's a lot of Polynesians or people. It's one of the hardest things to do, is to speak up to your parents. But can you just kind of just talk about, like for you when you brought it up? Oh, like did you openly just come bring it up, or did you have to wait? Like did you have to plan? Okay, what I'm gonna say, prepare yourself mentally.
Yeah. No, yeah, I just told them. I was like, I think that has to do a lot with my personality too.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this is what I'm doing. That's what I'm gonna do. Like this, I want to do that. That's what I'm gonna do. But no, my conversation with them, because I was only 8 at this point when I decided I wanted to leave, I was 18 or I was 19.
Yeah.
And I was going to a community college in SoCal. Go Mounties. I was going to a community college, and like I kind of already had my plan, but when again, it literally came from like my relationship with God. I gave my life to God. And then I was asking like, God, what is my purpose? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? And then the opportunity to go to a Bible college in Oakland popped up. And I was like, hell no, I'm not going to Bible college. Like that is the very last place I would like to go, please. But I felt that was where God was directing me to go. And so that was kind of how I told my parents. I was like, hey, this opportunity came up. I believe that God, is calling me to go to school. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's in Oakland. That's it.
Yeah.
And so my mom asked, she was like, do they have anything here? Because she knew it was online, I think. This conversation happened 10 years ago. Like I'm about to be so yeah, about 9 years ago, actually. And so, yeah. And I told them, I was like, I'm applying for the school. So I applied for the school. I don't think anybody thought that I would even get in. Like I was like, oh, okay, And then when I got accepted, I was like, okay, well, the next trimester starts in 2 weeks. And then I left. And then they drove me up. But in their minds, I think they were just thinking like, oh, she's going to college.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like, oh my God, you're moving away. It was more like, oh, you're just going to school. And I had already been in college for 1.5 years, so it wasn't going to take that long. And then I stayed up here. So yeah, that's what happened. They were supportive, but when it comes to, and I think about other Polynesian kids, that's why I said like my upbringing was like privileged. I'm not saying that in a way where it's like, oh, it's privilege. But literally where it's like, no, like my parents had the means to be able to like survive without me. You know what I mean? And so, and I think that's the issue with Polynesian with us, our like our people, is that the reason why parents don't want that is because sometimes the kids have to work, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I understand that completely. Like I've seen it with the kids that I've worked with, like very close with, to the point where I'm like talking to their parents about like, this is an opportunity, but I think the parents don't see like how, like, what are we gonna get out of this? But yeah, and so it is more, I would say even more than a cultural thing, but like like a socioeconomic thing. Like if the family can't afford for kids to move out and they need a working person at home, then that's how it is. And so in a way I can relate, but like I this is like
Yeah.
If someone were to listen right now, they'd be like, what, you're telling us not to go to, like, not to do, but I'm
No.
just saying, it's like, it's not the same for everybody. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Kind of. I
It's
kind of want
hard.
to.
It's hard.
Yeah. No. So I think that's a very interesting topic, and that is something that I always talk about, and that's why that's why I'm a advocate for like happiness and love, and people are going to be the fulfilling the potential, be successful. So because I grew up in the struggle. I grew up poor in the socioeconomic terms.
Okay, that's what I did. I didn't want to say like, oh, I didn't grow up, because I don't think that all Polynesians are like in that.
No,
but sorry,
yeah,
okay, but that's
good.
really what I was trying to get to. I'm like, I didn't grow up like that exactly.
And that's absolutely fine, but this is the thing. So I grew up poor, and our family, we had to work together. Everybody had to chip in. And I'm the youngest. I got a chance to see, my older siblings, making sure to everybody working together to handle the family. But one thing I kind of observed, and I know, and like I said, I understand that if that's what you have to do as a family to survive, I understand that aspect, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like that, and I feel like a lot of, I don't know, I guess Polynesian parents never think about this, or they don't see it from this perspective. But it's got to a point now that I think families came here to America, that immigrated here, they had to do that. So that way they can survive. They need the support of the kids. But I feel like, because that saying, the poverty is a mindset. Now it has become, now it becomes a cycle now where that's what they just, I guess it just kind of indirectly just became part of the culture without even nobody realizing it, if that makes sense.
That's a great point. That is a great point.
Right. Where, now they just expect the kids to always support the family. And I understand, and I understand that point. But the thing is, for me, is like, I've seen a lot of my good friends, because this is what I truly believe. I believe it's the responsibility of every generation, or even the parents, right, is to give your children or the next generation a better life. I feel like that's just our responsibility as human beings on this planet. God gives us purposes, like you said. We all have a purpose in this world, but I feel like our purpose or gifts that we're all born with is to make this world a better place. I truly believe that. It's not to make it worse, right? Not to make it harder. Not to make it harder on the people that we love and care about. It's to make it better. That's what I truly believe. And I feel like a lot of times, and it saddens me, and I see this a lot in Polynesian families, where I see that because the lack of inability of parents of making right decisions. Because I understand a lot of the parents come out here, probably they have a lot of opportunity, but a lot of didn't have the education, didn't have the things that we afford in America, right? I get that, but for me, is the lack of, I guess I see a lot of Polynesian parents, the lack of awareness to see that their situation is not improving, right? Like,
I'm crying.
Right?
Yeah, no, that's
right.
True.
And because what happens is, if you're always living, like, if we look, I was born in poverty. That's cool, right? But I still have a choice to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, because I grew up in poverty, because I went through the struggle, because I went there, that naturally it inspired me to get out of it, if that makes sense. And I feel like that a lot of parents or Polynesian fans never have that self-actualization to realize, hey, okay, we're struggling right now. Let's figure out a way to get out of it, right? And let's figure out a way to get out of it, because bills and all these, the lack of finances and is hurting our kids' future. They can't go to college. We can't afford these things. And for me, like, it should be a natural reaction to realize, for a lot of fans, like, if you're struggling, if you're hurt, if you're not doing well in life, you should do something about it. But for me, I just see a lot of families just kind of just accept it for what it is. And it just saddens me when I see that, like, like you said, you went to college, right? I have some friends that one of my boys, they were given scholarships to go to big time colleges to play sports. they had to deny that college scholarship because they needed to go to work right after high school to support their parents. And for me, that was, and when I had my conversation with my boys, man, they were hurt. Like they suffered. They were like, oh my God, like they want to go to college, they want to take advantage of the opportunity to better their life, but at the same time, like their parents are not doing really well,
Yeah.
and just relying on the kids, and I'm just saying, there's what I'll put out there. I mean, if you want to be real, there's some parents that take advantage of that. I'm just be honest right now. They take advantage of their kids. They instead of taking responsibility and doing something, they just let okay, my kid's gonna take care of everything. They just rely all 100% on the kids to financially support everything and do nothing in their power to kind of like help the kids out of their situation, or figure out something so that way they can figure out a way so they can still support themselves, but can still find a way to give the kids an opportunity to grow and get an education and get a better life. So, and for me, that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, like if you live in poverty, you already know that it's a hard life. Like it's a struggle when you don't have food. It's a struggle when you have to pick and choose what you have to, like, should we value food or should we value this? Like, I've been through there where bills is like, it's just a struggle. And I've seen my parents, I've seen my families cry because like we don't know how we're gonna pay the rent, how are we gonna pay, how are we gonna put food on the table tomorrow, and just like going to school and then realize, okay, we have to, like, when you go to like public places, like they have free food, like we have to, like, okay, this is my chance to eat. So I've been in that life, and for me, like, we should always try to improve, and we don't have to live in poverty, even though sometimes we are born in those circumstances. But I feel like as families, we have to get out of it. And if you're a parent right now, like I feel like it should be your natural responsibility to want your kids to do better and not fully burden them. And if that's the situation, great, it's cool. Like I understand life, like we have to make the best of what happens, but let's figure out a way to get out of it, right? Let's just not continuously. And then one thing I see with poverty, and you guys, and you guys know this, if sometimes poverty, lack of finances, breaks the family apart, and I've seen it happen. I don't know if you guys know this statistic. In America, the divorce rate is like 50% right now. What's the number one reason for divorce?
Finances.
Finances. That's the number one reason. The number one reason people get divorced in America right now is finances. And I've seen families break apart because the lack of finances, the kids can't handle the pressure anymore. The future, people are unhappy, the struggle, and then the family just break apart. People arguing, bickering about money, and I've seen that within my own family. So, but that's something I just wanted to say, like, for all the Polynesian parents out there, we have to do better and find a way, as hard as the situation is, you have to find a way to give your kids a better opportunity and allow them to grow, allow them to, if they have a goal and a dream, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's not always easy, but you can't just sacrifice your kids' future to completely take away their college dream, their career, and I feel like I said, that's just that mindset. They just see things in short term, but they don't see the long term out of it. So that's my little piece on it, and that's why for me, I agree. That's why I always encourage people, and that's the thing for me, honestly, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to accomplish my goals and dreams. I want to be really successful. I never want to get to a point where I have to I don't want to tell my kids, hey, I need you to go work because we can't pay their rent. I need to go to work. I want to make sure I'm going to handle my responsibility as a man, as a father, provide everything for my kids, and so they can follow their dreams and live their life and make sure that they don't live the same life I went through. And I feel like it's got to a point now where it's just like I told you before, it just becomes the culture now. Okay.
Yeah. But it's not culture. Like it does become. It feels like it.
It feels like it.
It feels like it. Because
go ahead.
No. Finish.
No, because this is what happened. The reason why it's a cycle. This is what happens, right? And because because we don't learn about poverty is a mindset. We don't learn about finance. We don't learn about investing. We don't learn about saving money. We don't learn about how to create wealth, and so that's why that poverty cycle happens. But this is the thing: the parents put so much rely all on the kids, to handle the financial responsibility. Now the kids, all their money they're generating, their income is going towards the family and the responsibility of the family. So they have no money for themselves. So they're broke, right? And what happens is they start families broke, and then what happens is because they're broke and they have kids now, that's like, now that the kids gonna rely on their kids and do the same thing, do the same thing that their parents did to. And and that's where the cycle comes in, because everybody's too broke that you have. Then when you're broke, then you have to rely on your family, because nobody is focusing on growth. Nobody's focusing on getting out of the situation and figure out a way to create wealth and get out of it. Then you always have to rely on family, and then that's why it keeps happening. And everybody is just struggling and always in the same situation over and over. So, but that's my final piece, my final thoughts on it.
No, yeah, that's really good. I think even like, no, like you said, it becomes a cycle, but even that cycle, I know people talk about generational cycles, like we say the word generational cycles and generational curses, but what it actually is generational patterns, right? And so it becomes a pattern, and then we're like, well, that's, what do you guys call it in Tongan? Whakaapapa. Like, that's
respect.
Just what it is. Like we respect each other. This is how we respect each other. Like, you have to do this. And so but I understand like where the line blurs. Because it's like, well, why wouldn't you if you love somebody? But in order to even like break a generational pattern, like it has to be somebody to do something different. And so that, and I started crying because I think, because that's actually why I started Oakland Pacific Islander Network. Because my dream for Pacific Islanders is that we would live a meaningful and impactful life, right? But if you can't live a meaningful life if your mind is in survival mode. And survival mode is normal. Like I forgot what it's a pyramid of like your needs, your life needs.
Maslow's needs.
Yes, that is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Hierarchy of needs. Yes. And so the top of the pyramid, and we talk, like my pastor has shared this, is like when you tell people about God, sometimes they don't even listen because that need is at the top, and you don't realize what you actually need because you're still like at the bottom of this like hierarchy of needs, which is food, shelter, air, like clothes, like all your basic needs. And so when we go into these like topics or this subject of like, we'll get out of survival mode, honestly, I think it's gonna have to start with like folks saying like, hey, like, this is the best for not only me, but this is the best for us. Like, and if I value us, like I have to value what I believe will create generational wealth. I don't even, honestly.
No. I mean, just to break down to people, if you don't know what the hierarchy of needs is, and you can jump in. I just want to explain it to everybody. So there's this pyramid scheme. It's pretty much breaking down the mindset of why people do certain things, of how they act, of their behavior. So it's in the very bottom. You ever see, because sometimes I always tell people, you ever see people and you wonder like, why? How is this person just living a great life, successful in everything they do? Like they just look like their mindset's all different frequencies. It's because their needs are different depending on their level of life that they have achieved. So if you're in a struggle right now, and this is something I always hear from people in the poor, like the poverty mindset, like, oh man, like I can't go to college because I gotta work. I can't do this, this. I can't do this. They always say that I can't work. They always say I can't. Of course, because if you're in a situation where your needs is like, if you do, like you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're broke, then of course naturally your only priority in life is to put all your time and effort into things that you need to make sure to survive. But if you never take the time to start working on yourself, to goals, to get out of that hierarchy and go to the next level, because the people that succeed is because the people that do really well is they figure out a way not to be in a survival mode with now they're not to be because a lot of successful people start off at the bottom where they live paycheck to paycheck in poverty. And you guys all hear the success stories of successful people that grew up in poor homes, but they get out of it. The reason why they get out of it is because they worked hard enough where they didn't have to live paycheck to paycheck. Now they were able to get a good career, good money. Now the rent's taken care of. When now they have finance coming in, so that means what? They have more time. When they have more time, that means they can put their time into other things to better their life. But if you never get out that the lower level of the pyramid, where you're literally working 2 or 3 jobs and you're literally working paycheck to paycheck, then it's really, really hard for you to focus on your goals and dreams. And that's why I always hear a lot of people who always say, I can't work on my goals and dreams. I can't work out. I can't do this because I got to work. Yeah, of course, but you have to figure out a way to get out of it. I just wanted to break it down to people so they can understand it.
No, that's a good explanation. So that's why I created that my organization, to give Pacific Islander youth. And I know that there is also a need for just Pacific Islander families, but for me, like, that was just my heart for the youth and young adults, to have resources so that, like, hey, these are the resources that you could have and you could take advantage of if you want, to break out of that. But yeah. So, and I know I shared that I started crying because I've seen a lot of my own youth.
Yeah, can you share about the experiences you see?
Yeah. So I've been working, just to give context, I've been working with Pacific Islander youth as like a job for the past 9 years, since I moved up here. And I'm also Pacific Islander. So yeah, so since I moved up here, I actually started coaching volleyball my first year of college. And that's where I met all the, like, my youth who are now young adults. But yeah, so I've been working with them, and like, we're like, yeah, go to college, do all these things. And then they get to a point where they're like, Miss Alina, like, I want to do this. I hear their dreams, I hear their goals, but when it comes down to, like, okay, are you ready? It a lot of times it's been like families where it's like, I actually can't, like, I have to work, or they'll actually go to college and then come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there's only been probably, like, out of all the students I've worked with, and I hope this is not a reflection of me, but out of all the students I've worked with, probably 1 or 2, maybe 3, let's say, just say a handful, have, like, gone to college, graduated. I don't think that college is, like, the ultimate means of success either.
Yeah.
But it really does reflect, like, like, oh, I'm committed to being successful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so it's only been a handful. And a lot of the times it's been because they just wanted to come home and work. And I think, like, they just prioritize, oh, my family needs me, which is understandable. It's hard to argue with it. It's hard to, like, even be like, no, your family doesn't need you. Like, I'm not going to straight up say it in that way. But yeah, that's been the issue. One of my students, who I'm actually very close with now, has always wanted to move. Like, and I've seen it where, like, they've asked, if they can, I'm not going to share the whole story, but
yeah,
basically she's wanted to leave and tried, and then was almost, like, threatened to come back, left again, tried, almost threatened to come back. And then even now, as a young adult, like, when I hear her talk, she's like, I want to move where no one else can tell me what to do. And she's grown, like, she's 21 now.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just very heartbreaking. Yeah. And I share that with her because I know she would be okay with me just sharing, like, a snippet of that. But yeah.
And that's and see, and then that's the thing, like, and that's the hardest thing you have to, anybody out there that feels that way, if you're watching this right now and you feel trapped and you want to have big goals, big dreams, but you feel like overburdened. But I remember Alina, you said something real quick, like, I think you said something before. You said that, these things keep happening, but then it always comes down to that one person that's gonna just break it. I think that's what you see. There's one person has to break the cycle, right?
It has to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So and for everybody that's listening, like, I've seen it before. Like, people that grow up in financially, social, people that grow in poor families, and then somebody ended up became successful and they came back and helped their family. It was always because that one person just had to prioritize themselves and say, you know what, I got to do this for me. I got to focus on my career. I probably have to say no to my family as far as obligations and take those resources that I tend to give to my family and kind of invest into myself, invest into my career. And you already know this when if you're Polynesian, the moment you do that, you're going to be hated, you're going to be criticized. People are going to say, do this, do this, do this. And I remember my own experience when I did that for myself, when I started focusing on my own career and kind of like not worrying about the priorities of my family's financial needs. I wanted to invest into myself because I knew that long term, and this I think of everybody out there that's struggling with it, just to tell family, you know what, I need to focus on myself. I just want you to think about this. Short term, maybe you're gonna get a lot of criticism. You're gonna get a lot of judgment from your family. But think about long term.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of one of my mentors in life right now is this keynote speaker. His name's Coach William Ituivai. He's a professional keynote speaker in Sacramento. I love having great discussions with him, and he always talks about his journey. And he said that, look, he talks about how he had to make that transition and focus on himself, and because he's like I think he's the eldest of like 10, 11 siblings. So he's like, they have a whole family. They got a whole family.
Yeah, that's a lot of kids.
So, and of course, being the eldest, like the parents rely on you to like be that third parent and to like, help out everything. And he said that he had to, this is the way he saw it. Look, at the end of the day, he said he had to have this conversation with his family. Look, at the end of the day, what's a better option? Me putting all my efforts and finances into you guys and help you guys out, or let me do my own thing for a couple of years, all right? And then let me do my own thing for a couple of years, and when I'm successful and when be a multi-millionaire, then I'll come back, and bring everybody back.
That's really good.
So do you want the short-term gain or do you want the long-term gain? And then I think that's the hardest thing for parents to see, or even kids. Just short-term, of course, you're gonna please your parents, but the thing is, as far as the future, nothing's gonna really help out the situation. I always say the best love you can do for your family is go out there and be successful, because you can come back and take them out of the struggle, but there's no point of just staying in the struggle and having no plan to get out of it. And for me, I know for my own, I'm doing my own thing right now for my life, and I know I get a lot of in Tongan we call it tai ofa. My family used to call me tai ofa. It means you don't love us, like you don't care. So I remember I heard that a couple of times, which it really hurt, by the way, because like
I know that does hurt.
Yeah, because like I thought about all the times I given to my family, and the one time I did something for myself, instead of getting support, then I got like, oh, you're that alpha. But for me, but then I still love my family. So if you're watching this and you're my family, hey, I still love you guys. There's no love lost. But for me, like I see it the way is if I become successful, my family becomes successful, right? Yeah. Right. So like it's more about the future than the moment. And I feel like a lot of kids and a lot of families just think about the moment of now instead of thinking about the future. Of course, okay, it must suck. It's hard to move now, or it's hard to go to college now, or it's hard to do now. But just think about it. 20 years from now, you guys be in a better place.
Right.
So
20 years,
that's something that
generations after, like it has to be somebody. And I wonder if, like, sorry if this gets us a little off track, but I'm like, when did we start even experiencing that? Because I'm second generation American. Like, so are you moved here?
Yeah.
From
here, yeah.
So it's like our culture, like I feel like maybe we're not even wired to even think think like that, because the reason why we're even in this situation is because we're here. Like, we're only 2, max 3 generations in being in like American lifestyle. And so
I mean, like I said,
we're not wired to live like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like you already know it's a mindset. Struggle, unhappiness. It's all a mindset, and it always takes that one person to change everything for the family. And at the end of the day, like if you're out there, you have big dream, big goals. Um, I just want to let you know, like, yeah, people in your family will never understand it because you have to understand that they were brought up a different way. They have a different set of beliefs and values. They might not see the value of building a business. They might not see the value of going out there and be successful because at the end of the day, because this is what happens. A lot of people are sad to see. When you live your whole life in the struggle, sometimes your struggle becomes your comfort zone. It becomes your norm.
Yeah.
So but if you want to get out of it, I don't know what's I don't know if you heard this quote. You know how winners feel uncomfortable around in the losing environment, and losers feel uncomfortable in the winning environment.
Yeah.
So if you're a natural born entrepreneur, if you're a natural born hustler, if you're a natural born go getter, and you live in the yes. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I will come back. We'll continue. Go ahead. Oh my God. Little break, little pause, y'all. Little break, y'all. Give me 1 second.
Okay, sorry. I am so sorry. I should have told you before that I am like I drink a heck of water and coffee all day.
All right, y'all. Quick little intermission. That was for we just talked about long term, so this is for the long term to make sure we can get through this podcast.
yeah, sorry.
No, no, yeah, I think I was talking about. Wow, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So this is the thing. Like if you have a goal, and I want to share this, and if you want to, and you can share your thoughts too. But one of the things that I know is one of the hardest things that as Polynesian kids we always have this because we have this much love to our family and of course when it comes to our culture, respect is everything. So as Polynesian kids we don't want to displease or disappoint anybody, especially when it comes to our family and our parents, because we hold our families to a high pedestal, and we talked about that. And so one of the things we try to do, and I see a lot of kids do it, is to try to convince their parents to understand what they want in their life. And from our own personal experience, like your parents, if they don't have the same mindset as you, they will never understand your goals, your dreams, and what you want out of life to be happy. They will never understand as much as you try to explain it, break it down. You can even hire Alina to come to your house and explain it to them.
Yes, I do for free.
I'm telling you, nothing is going to convince them because, like I said, they have a different mindset. They have a different core beliefs and values. So, I mean, if you ask my opinion, just go out and do it. And because if you're waiting for that perfect time for your parents to finally accept you, accept your dreams, support you, I'm telling you, 99% of the time, it's not going to happen. Like, you're going to have to just go out there and do it and just handle the disappointment, handle the criticism, handle the judgment. But one thing I always say, they don't support you now, but then when you make it, they will always come back and they will support you. but what are your thoughts on that? Just like, just doing it, and because like in understanding nobody's going to understand what you're going to go through in your dreams, so you just might as well just go do it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when I think about goals and dreams, I would say like you will only be successful in that if you blah blah blah, whatever the fill in the blank. but yeah, go for it. Go for it. Invest in yourself, I would say. But I would also say, I know this sounds like, I don't want it to sound like I'm contradicting myself, because I'm definitely not. However, one of my really good friends, her mom was sick, and she did have to put her life on pause for a while.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, to care for her mom, and in that aspect, where, like, for me, I always say, I'm like, I believe I'm living my dream out here in the Bay. I'm doing what I believe that the Lord has called me to do. And I've shared this before. I was like, if something happened to my parents and I needed to go home, I would go home.
yeah,
Like, that, yeah. And I believe that God will also honor that. But yeah, go get your dream. Honestly, like, it really is.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
you just have to do it. Um, like, I think even we call it fears, and we could make it as spiritual as we want, and we're like, oh, like, all these fears. But when it comes to what my mentors taught me, when it comes to, like, limited beliefs, a lot of those limited beliefs come from, like, how you grow up, how you do all these things. How do you conquer a limiting belief or a fear that I cannot do it, or that it's just too much, or whatever your limited belief is you just have to do it. Like, do it scared. Do it scared. Like, just do it scared. Um, yeah, that's what I would say. Just do it.
yeah. I think that's a really good topic. I think that's something that I feel like that is one of the core reasons of why a lot of people struggle with growth, people in general, but also Polynesians. So you talked about limited beliefs. Um, I feel like I remember. I don't know if you guys ever. I don't know if you listen to Tony Robbins. He's one of the well-known
Yes.
motivational coaches out there. I love his content. I learn a lot from him. I consume his content all the time. One thing he always says is like, um, our decisions in life always comes from our beliefs and our values. So if you want to change your life, you want to change who you are, you change your belief system and change your value system of
Yeah.
what you see that's probably important in your life. And once you change that, then your decisions will naturally change. But I felt what you said. Polynesians. When you grow up in a very in the Polynesian culture, they teach you this certain beliefs that we have to follow and carry out and believe as part of the culture. So I want to ask
Yeah.
you, I guess one example is like because since there's a lot of women that watch this, but the belief that women should just be housewives, gender roles. Right.
Hey,
All right.
yes, go ahead.
So any Polynesian, you guys know this. Women, they teach you guys, sometimes even condition you guys, and raise you guys to be wives, and to serve a man, to rely on a man, and that's how I've seen it with my own sisters, where all they taught them was cook, clean, take care of the kids, and then the boys, like, they'll tell us a different narrative as far as like, hey, you guys have to go work hard, be the breadwinner. So they fed us a different mindset to the women.
Yeah.
So that can be,
Yeah.
and since we're talking about beliefs, that could be a struggle, and that's why I see a lot of Polynesian women struggle with trying to be successful, trying to be independent, trying to be on their own, and trying to invest in their own goals and dreams, because they've been told their whole life to believe that their whole value and purpose in life is to be a wife to them and to serve men. All right, and of course, if that's what you want to do, by the way, hey, do you?
Do it.
At the end of the
Yeah,
day,
do it.
if that was, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm gonna say if that makes you happy and you love serving your man and you love being a housewife, and then absolutely be the best mother, and and hold it down for the family. But I'm just saying is if you want something different, but you find it hard to move into that space to believe in yourself, because that limited belief is stopping you from taking action. Because what happens is when you have a limited belief, and you guys can relate to this, when you believe you can't do something, you never think you deserve it. And if you think you don't deserve it, then you never think you're good enough. And if you think you're not good enough, then you will never take action to do it, because in your mind you think, well, there's no point of me taking action because I'm not good enough, because I'm just a housewife, which is totally false. You can achieve anything you want to achieve. But yeah, but for you, I want to ask you, Can you talk about limiting beliefs or what you see? Because you work with a lot of Polynesians, especially men and women. Can you talk about the limiting beliefs that you see within men and the limiting beliefs you see with Polynesian women that they struggle with to get outside? And also, can you also talk about your own limiting beliefs yourself? Like, did you have any limiting beliefs growing up that you struggle with that kind of hindered you from actually growing to be the best version of yourself? And if you don't mind sharing that journey.
Yes. Wait, that's a packed question.
Okay.
What I have seen with, so I pulled up this thing where one of my mentors, he actually preached a couple Sundays ago, and he shared about the cognitive triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see a triangle, not Illuminati, what is this? Triangle. Triangle, it's like your thoughts, your actions, and your feelings, and your thoughts impact your emotions, and then my emotions will impact my actions. And so obviously, so your thoughts literally impact everything that you do, right? And so I say that to say, yes, we should be working on not just changing the action of what is stopping us, but like you have to change your thought, which is ultimately like if it stops you from behaving in a way that would benefit you or is healthy for you in your growth, then we should focus on like, well, what thoughts do I need to change?
Yeah.
And so a limiting belief is literally that, like your belief is limited.
Yeah.
And so with working with Polynesian students, and I say Polynesians because I actually have never worked with anyone outside of Polynesian. Sorry, I want to be politically correct, but like really, I've only worked with Tongans and Samoans. But with men, I think the limiting belief is that I can't do anything outside of athleticism or anything outside of just like physical things, which is it's not true. It's false.
Yeah.
Like that is false.
That's a stereotype. Yeah.
It's a stereotype, especially with Pacific Islanders. But yeah, with a lot of the men that, like, I mean, we live in the West Coast, we live in California, like all these poly kids, all these poly boys are football players.
Yeah.
And so I think it has become a limited belief. Even my brother was playing at Oklahoma. What is it? Yeah, Oklahoma. What is that school?
Sooners. Oklahoma Sooners.
Yes, he was playing.
That's a really good college, by the way. That's a really
good
football
so
school.
And I say that because I feel like, like I have the credibility to talk about it. Like my family, like my little cousin plays for USC. My cousins have been NFL and like just bomb players. And so I see that with our Polynesian men, but that's all we think we can do.
Yeah.
And so we put all of our eggs in this basket of like, oh, I have to be successful at this. I have to do this. Even if you don't want to, like if you don't want to play a sport, I've seen people like, oh, you're a nerd. Like, yeah, like if you want to be a nerd, let's be a nerd.
Yeah.
Like, and in the most positive light ever. But yeah, so that's a limited belief that I've seen because we put all of our eggs in this basket. We invest in all these things. Even our coaches, I say this, I coached for 7 years as a head coach volleyball. So like I'm saying this as a coach, being around coaches and even having this thought where it's like, oh my gosh, you're hecka tall, like you need to be on my team. And so it's like we don't see like how dynamic our kids really are. And so, yeah, I feel like we just don't invest resources in like, man, this could be your next lawyer. This could be your next doctor. This could be your next entrepreneur. This could be the next person to find a cure for cancer. I don't know. Like, and so because of that, all that to say, for specifically our Polynesian men, I have seen this narrative of like, you have to be athletic or you have to do something where it's physical. And so, yeah. It's not all, but it's a lot. And so, yeah, for the women, yeah, I would say like, it's been like, oh, you have to stay inside, be a housewife. Obviously that's not what I believe, but I've seen it. Yeah. And so those are some of the things that I've seen and has been a limited belief for Polynesians. Yeah. What was the other question?
Oh no, yeah. So so I know you said the girls they struggle with the you know the housewife. That's the one of the limited beliefs. What about for you? What are your limited beliefs that you felt like that you had to learn to let go, or reprogram yourself?
Uh, yeah, no, my limited belief was actually that, and I feel like I've written these down so many times, but one of them was that I had to stay, or I wasn't capable of doing like something outside of the box. And when I say outside of the box, I mean like career wise, job wise. Like I wanted to fit into this like box of like, yes, I do this. That's what I do. But for me, when I was
Well,
starting this organization,
what was that? What was the box? What were the jobs that you felt like that you could only do?
yeah, not, it wasn't just, I mean, I thought this because it was like people around me were
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
well,
Of
what
course.
job do you want to do? What job do you want to? I'm like, wait, I don't actually want to have a job. Like, I don't want to just like apply for somewhere, but like, I want to oversee an organization and oversee the operations of, this dream that I have that doesn't come with benefits. Like, I'm like, yeah,
Right.
she ain't got no health insurance, like, because the job doesn't offer that now. But yeah, I think the limited belief was that I was not capable of doing what I believed that I could. Like, I had to be limited to this, like, oh, what is your 9 to 5 type of job? Like, what do you do? I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, I create. That's what I do. um, but my creativity has never been like, when you think of creatives, you think of like artists, music, you think of all these things, but for me, my creative ability was always in my mind to create programs, to create ways to like support to create ways to support and help people, and to give people strategy. And so that was my idea of creativity, but that was never a job description for anybody. So that was why it became a limited belief for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah. And then fear of people, honestly, like my fear of people, that is my limited belief. I have grown up like people, because of the way I grew up, I have actually never felt Polynesian enough. I'm like, dude, I know my culture. Like, I may not be able to speak my language fluently, but like, you tell me to freaking do something, like, I know my culture. I know the villages that my families come from very well. Like, yeah. And so but because of the way that I grew up, I've always been like a whitewashed Polynesian, which I don't actually even think is true.
yeah.
And so because of that, I actually thought that I wasn't Polynesian enough to serve Pacific Islander students or be in
Yeah.
spaces like that. So
Honestly, I don't like that term. I don't like that term, whitewash.
me
Um,
either. I
I feel
really,
like I feel like I remember I had a discussion with on another podcast, but I feel like that we need to embrace our uniqueness, our individual unique abilities, and what makes us different as Polynesians.
that's so
And
good.
but
Yeah.
because I think of who said it. For me, I'm a proud Tongan, right? I'm a proud Tongan. I love my culture. I value how I grew up. So I'm a proud Tongan, but I'm also proud of being a unique Tongan, of what makes me different from other Tongans. And
I
and
like that.
so and that's the thing, and that's one of the things about the culture, and that it kind of, like you said, it kind of tries to put everybody in a box.
Yeah.
And I feel like it limits a lot of people, because at the end of the day, everybody's different. No one in this
Right.
earth is different. Everybody has their own set of beliefs, thoughts, heart, passions, and we're all unique in our own different ways. And I truly believe that's what makes us beautiful. It's what makes us different, makes us unique. It's what makes us stand out. And the light that we have, that God has blessed us with, that's how it allows us to shine in this world. If you never
Yeah.
embrace your individual uniqueness and what makes you different, then you will never truly shine as a child of God. That you have to. I feel like I just preached right now. I was a preacher. But yeah, to. But I know sometimes in culture, the dynamics of any culture or society, they'll try to place their values and their more and their standards on you. This is what the standards of what a man should be, a woman should be, and I feel like that's very toxic. And I feel like as Polynesians, we shouldn't label people okay, oh, he's a whitewash Polynesian, oh, he's a FOB Polynesian, fresh off the boat Polynesian. No, it should be just, yeah, he's Polynesian. She's a Polynesian. Yeah, that's
like we don't say that about anybody else. I'm like, you don't say like someone a white person who grew up in poverty, like, and then a white person who grew up in, like rich. Like we don't like, we see them the same. I don't understand why it's like that for us.
You know what's funny is like I always find it weird how we'll degrade somebody for not being Polynesian enough as whitewash, but then we'll also degrade islanders that came from the island as two islander. Oh, he's too.
I'm like, wait, I know. I'm like, what do y'all want us to be? Like,
exactly. Which is like crazy. Like, wait, so that person is too whitewashed, not enough, but because he grew up in the island, he just came to America. He's too FOB, and you judge him for being FOB.
You can't be FOB, but you also cannot be like too whitewashed. You have to be perfectly in the middle. Like, yo, gosh, so many standards to listen to.
Yeah, see how I mean, if you're watching this, you realize how idiotic that sounds. It's so stupid. There shouldn't be a spectrum. It should just be you. Whatever you love, whatever you're passionate about, just you. Like, we just need to embrace it. And I feel like if we can do that, and that's why I feel like, I don't know if you noticed, but I feel like a lot of the kids never reveal their true nature, or like they kind of hide who they really are. It's funny. I have a lot of friends like in public, they're a total different person. But then when we're like away from their parents, like they're totally like they reveal their true selves. And I feel a lot of Polynesians are afraid to put themselves out there. Hey, I want to ask you real quick, since we were talking about limiting beliefs, and you have to break out of that comfort zone, that box that you talked about. And I feel like that's something I feel like when I talk about a little bit more, because I feel like there's a lot of Polynesians that have limited beliefs. And I want to ask you this, because in my own experience with limited beliefs, I feel like that, because I grew up that way. I grew up in Tonga, I came here in America, I had that Polynesian mindset where all I could do, like the only, like my value in life, as far as what I could achieve, was to play sports. I did end up playing college football. I earned a scholarship to play football. But I remember when I was done playing, I actually hit depression, and my world fell apart because I realized my NFL dream wasn't going to happen. And I really went to a dark place in that moment of time in my life. But then I had to get out of it and realize, but then luckily for me, I met certain people. I met some mentors that changed my mindset. They changed my mindset, changed my belief system, told me, hey, you're more than sports is not the only thing you can do. You can put your mind into anything you want to do and be successful. And because of those people, that really changed. That really changed and put me another path in life. So I want to ask you, did you grow up and then did you end up meeting mentors in your life? Because I feel like if you have a hard time overcoming your beliefs, I want to give you guys add value to this point. I want to give you guys some solutions of what you could do. And I feel like one of the solutions you could do, if you really have a hard time overcoming your own limited belief, you need to start hanging around better quality of people. You need to hang around people that are more successful than you, that are better than you, but not better than you like as a human being. I'm just saying as far as accomplishing things, that they're actually doing the things that you want to do, go learn from them. Mm-hmm. Because you are that quote, you are a product of the environment. Of course, like if you always hang around negative people, then you're always gonna be negative. If you hang around people with no ambition, no goals, no dreams, that never take action, then you're gonna fall into the same suit. So if you want to overcome your limited beliefs, you have to stop hanging around people with limited beliefs. So I want to ask you, what kind of mentors did you come into your life? What did you learn? How did they impact you? And also want to ask you is, because whenever you start overcoming your beliefs, then you're going to become a different person. You will change. When you overcome these beliefs, you will become a new person. And sometimes in your own circle, when you become a new person, a lot of people will hate you for it, for being new, for growth. So I want to ask you: Did you have haters and people that judge you and showed you some criticism, and for being who you are when you decided to be different? And I just want to ask you if you want to share that. So share your journey of meeting, surrounding yourself with new people, better people, mentors, and also what type of criticism and judgment did you get when you started being a new version of yourself and being and growing and a lot of people didn't understand that and preferred the old you to the new
Yeah,
to the new you.
that's a very good question. So I feel so I'm about sorry, I keep saying this, but I can't wait to be 30. But I'm about to be 28. So now in my late 20s. Gosh. So now in my
You're still young, by the way. You're still young, by the way.
I know, but it's
oh my
just
God.
so weird.
I hear that all the time from people. Oh my God, you're young, like you're hella young. You're hella
Yes, you're right. I am still young. But so now being in my late 20s, when I look back, there was actually like two main transitional points in my life. One, when I became a Christian. My backstory before I became Christian was I was partying. Literally, like I was going into 21 and over clubs when I was like young. I'm like, how did I get in? So, like I was doing all that. I was, just like living the life. And then when I became Christian and decided that that's not the way that I want to live my life, and I became a personal conviction, I just stopped taking invites from people who would invite me to those things. I stopped drinking, and just stopped doing all those things. And to other people, I looked like, oh, like this is just a phase, like you're just, like, and so it wasn't very direct, like, oh, like, ew, we can't stand you, but it was like sarcastic. Sarcastic. And so it was like, that was one phase. That was one like transitional part where it like literally I became a new person in Christ.
They make fun of you for being a Christian because of your old lifestyle, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that when you grew up in somewhat of a like religious environment, it doesn't come off like, ew, you're following God. It comes off as like, oh, you're too good for us now. Like you're doing this. No, I'm not. This is literally a personal conviction of mine.
Yeah.
And so from there, like I didn't grow up in church. I knew like one like real Christian, maybe two. And besides that, like I didn't have pastors. I didn't have a mentor to teach me how to like be a Christian. And so I literally went on my phone and typed in on Instagram, this is 9 years ago, typed in #Christian, #Christian woman. And I started following, and even on YouTube, just started following like all these people that were like Christian people to be my like online mentor. And even from that, so like that's the power of the internet, is where it's like you can find anything you want on the internet. And then even from that, literally praying and asking God, like, please send me a mentor or a Christian community. And so I started, I started just getting myself involved with different Christian events at a local church, asking a Christian that I knew, like, hey, do you have any Bible studies that I can come to? And then getting, plugged into that community, who are a group of Tongan Christians, like real wonderful people. And so that was kind of how I got into found a mentor. Was I had to look. And I think even I would even say to people, like, if you want a mentor, you have to look. Like, and I think people have this misconception that, oh, it's just going to come to me. It's just going to come to me. Sometimes it will, but most times it won't. You have to go look for those things, for the resources that you want in order to be successful. And so that was the first transition of my life. And then I moved out here. The second one was when I graduated college, and I wanted to start my own organization. I wanted to just, like, I had this dream of supporting Pacific Islander students and teaching people how to live in their purpose. And so I took on random positions, even free things that, like, I wasn't getting paid for stuff to be in these spaces. And then I just started looking for mentors, even in that area. Like, how do I grow a business? How do I sharpen what I want? And so even with that, like, I not suffered, but like I really did sacrifice, and I've paid like thousands of dollars for like mentors to mentor me, even, or to get into these like consulting things where I'm like, please, like, be my mentor. Like literally to the point where I had rent and I would take out of rent to pay for these services so that I can be, like to invest in myself. And then I would go and pull out a California check cash checking, whatever, a payday loan to pay my rent. And then I would just do that. And so, so that is, I would say, like, when it comes to mentorship, like it's like really an investment in myself, especially when you're an adult, like you can choose not to do those things. It's easy. Like when you're in high school, like for the kids that I work with, I'm like all up in their face. And it's like, no, you have no choice. Like I'm about to be up in your face, be at your door knocking, like, are you going to school yet? How come you didn't go to school? But as an adult, like that has to be a choice, like, and you have to want to make that investment. And a lot of times, like, you might have to pay for those things. So as far as mentorship, investing and sacrificing. As far as like haters, I feel like generally I have a very likable personality. So no one's ever said it to my face, but I have had, again, sarcastic, like, why do you, like, what do you even do? Like, how come you're doing that? Why don't you leave? I was working at a school, and I didn't get paid for like 9 months. But I knew that that's where I was supposed to be, and this, like that it would get my foot in the door into something. And I had a lot of that. Like, why would you do that? Like, that's so not wise. It's, like that's dumb for whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then when they started paying me, I didn't have like benefits, and people were like, why would you get a job with no benefits? I was like, just leave me alone. I'm just trying to do what God has called me to do. But so, sorry. I hope that answers your question. I ranted a little bit.
That's fine. It's fine. You still have the same circle of friends today you did have, like, say, 9 years ago?
The struggle of...
No, I'm sorry. No, do you still have the same circle of friends now compared to, like, say, 9 years ago? No. Nope. Not at all. You have to grow out of it.
I know. It's very, yes. And it's very sad. Like, I think I don't even know, but I don't think I would have ever thought that the friends that I had 9 years ago, the circle of friends that I had 9 years ago, would not be my circle of friends. And and even when we talk and we're like, oh, like, you grow out of it, like you have to move forward from those friends. And I think, like, coming from people who have kind of already been through that, it sounds like, yeah, you do it. But like in the moment and in those seasons of like growing, it's very, very painful. Especially if you're like, you love your friends. Like for me, like when people come into my circle, I'm like, I love you and I will be loyal to you, like, and but when that circle of friends, when people decide that they just don't want to do that, it's painful. It's like to me, I have felt, and I shared this with a mentor, I'm like, it feels like a breakup. Like that's what it feels like. It's like a slow breakup where it's like you like connect to people that you think that you were just gonna grow with forever. But if people make different decisions, and you just kind of like organically break up. But so no. The answer to that question is no, I don't.
Yeah. I think that's one of the hardest things of growth, is understanding that your circle of friends is going to change. And for some people, it's hard because you have so much experience and history with people. but that's just, I guess that's just part of the process of growth, that, sometimes, I mean, if you're lucky to have friends that you grew up with, and they support you in everything you do, and there's no tension, there's no like inner judgment within themselves, and no hate between them, then that's really rare, but great. But sometimes I've just seen a lot. For me, even my own friends now, like, I had some friends I had to let go because, I realized that they didn't really support me. They pretend like they support me, but they didn't really support me behind closed doors. But they also had friends that I just realized that that because their life or their mind of thinking doesn't align with what I do, I felt like it would actually like slow me down a little bit, and it has nothing against them, but I just realized that I need people that need to be to adding value to my life, to push me, encourage me,
Yeah.
support me, love me. So, and that's what's the hardest things. That, if you're out there and if you lost all your friends on your personal growth journey, just let you know it's okay. And you're gonna make more friends, and you're gonna make more friends. Let you know I have new friends now. I have new friends
Me
now.
too.
I have new friends now, and then and then these are friends that understand who I am. They're set, support my dreams and goals, and they have their own dreams and goals that we just encourage, support one another. I think Nipsey Hussle. I don't know. I think Nipsey Hussle said it like, if you're a circle of friends that don't encourage you to do better, then you're not in a circle. You're in a cage. I think that's what he said.
Ooh, that's good. That's true.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So I want to ask you real quick. So when you decided to go into online mentoring, and of course you got some mentors for your life, what things did you immediately start to learn about yourself that they kind of that you feel that you knew that, okay, this is something I need to change just by being around these people? For me, when I was around like my mentors, one thing I realized that I needed to change was my attitude, because when I'm around this all my mentors, like their energy and their attitude is always strictly positive. Like no matter what happens, they're always seeing a positive light. And I realized with myself that I always tend to get negative, and when things go bad, and then when the good things are good, then I'm happy. But then I realize now that I've actually kind of I learned that attitude from them. From now, like for me, like I try to I make a choice to wake up with the intention to be happy every day. Every single day I wake up, you know what, today I'm gonna live each day. I'm gonna do my best today. I'm gonna be happy today. No matter what happens today, I want to be happy. I always have to tell myself that. And then naturally my attitude is good. And then if something bad happens, I'm like, oh, I just smile about it. All right, no problem. I'm just gonna figure out a different solution. So I feel like that's something I learned from my mentors immediately. I just recognized that immediately when I was around there. I was like, oh my God, like these people are so positive. And I realized how negative I was.
Yeah.
But what about for you? When you're around your mentors, what was something that you immediately noticed about yourself that you saw within them that, okay, this is something I definitely need to change in order to level up?
Yeah. For me, I call myself a recovering people pleaser. And so a lot of the things that I realized that I did or that stopped me, that they were not like, was like not doing it to please other people, or like not worrying about people's perception of me. And so, yeah, so I think that was like one of the main things actually, because being like a people pleaser and like worrying about what people have to say affected my whole thing. Like I wanted to do this, I wanted to host an event, and I hadn't seen it done before. And I was like worried that, like, what if I do it wrong? What if I, like it has to be a certain way? And I spent all that time thinking about it and worrying about like how people might perceive me. And it delayed for a while. And then someone actually did have something to say about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it was like my biggest fear come true. I'm like, wait. And so, yeah, so that was like the main thing, is like being focused on what God has called me to do. That was something that I realized about myself, was like, if that is what the Lord is calling you to do, that is what you should be doing.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. I do want to go. I know since you do talk about your path to deciding to be a Christian, by the way, and shout out to all the Christians out there watching.
Okay, wait. Can we pause this? Like, I'm never inviting you on a podcast. Can we have one intermission before we go into this?
Yeah, go ahead. It's fine.
Okay. I will be right back.
All right, cool. Intermission, y'all. Give me a couple seconds. and hope everybody's been enjoying the podcast so far. Appreciate all the love and support. Yeah, this is the first time this happened in the podcast, so I guess it's what that makes life interesting. Yeah, if you have any doubts, if you have any feedback, I guess, yep. All right. We are good to go. Ready?
Yeah. You are a great podcaster, by the way.
Yeah, y'all good. Yeah, it's all good. It is all good. I do want to tell you did mention about your choice to be a Christian. And I know we talked about that you end up becoming a youth pastor as a woman. So can you talk about that? Your choice of being a youth pastor, and also just being a pastor, but as a female pastor, I feel like because I remember I mentioned earlier before, I had a friend that her mom wanted to be a pastor, but within the Polynesian culture, they told her she couldn't because she was a woman. So can you talk about that? What the belief that women can't be pastors, and I understand a lot, and just kind of your thoughts on that, and then speaking to all those people that's watching this that feel like that you can't be a pastor because you're a woman. That's something that's only given to men. I'm just interested to hear that from your side.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting to me. So I actually didn't even know that was like a belief until I kind of got into ministry. Like, it's very confusing. But yeah, so I became a Christian 2011, and then decided to go to Bible college. And then I've always had like these goals and these dreams that I believe that God gave me. And along the way, I stepped into being a full-time youth pastor, full-time, and then working like my my organization on the side. And so I've heard a lot of folks say, not to me, but say like, oh, like women can't be pastors, women can't be, can't serve in ministry in that capacity. My heart is to be biblical. And I think what a lot of people do, especially as Polynesians, I don't think we read the Bible correctly. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like, we take it and we're like, oh, that's what it says. Like, no tattoos. Oh, can't get a tattoo. But actually, when you read the Bible, you have to also read it, like, understanding the context of why the writer was writing it in this way. And so when it comes to women being pastors, I don't know exactly. And I know that that's like my bad. But reading scripture in context. A lot of times people will say like, women cannot do blah, 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 because that's what it says. This is what Paul wrote in whatever book they're reading. But a lot of times what Paul was writing in the Bible was because of the cultural practices that specific community that he was talking to, like had. Mm-hmm. And so I think when we take that out of context and we're like, oh, women can't do, all these things, they just think it becomes all bad. And not only that, but I feel like people hinder, what's the word? I would even say like disrespect God calling people. Like, women are key in the Bible. Women are key people, right? Like, a woman is the one who found and told people that Jesus was risen. Like, it was like women did these things. And so, yeah, when people share like that women shouldn't be doing these pastoral positions, I just can't get with it. I'm like, one, you're disrespecting like what God could be telling them to do. Two, it's just silly. Three, my pastor is a woman. Like one of my, like my pastors are a couple. And so when I need like pastoral counseling, I go to the wife, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where it's like my pastor is a woman. And so I guess I would say to somebody who's like, oh, I can't do it. I'm like, you can't do it because culture tells you not to do it. Like, you don't want to follow the call of God because culture is telling you, or, and a lot of it I know has to also do with the denomination that you're in.
Yeah.
And so I think I would encourage people, like, if the denomination is causing you to not answer the call of God over your life, you should consider maybe leaving. Pray about it, but you should even just consider it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear that from people? Did they come openly to tell you that you shouldn't be a pastor because you're a woman? You ever
Not
hear
me. Not to me. Personally, no, not me. I wish they would. No. Yeah, no one has ever told me that to my face. Yeah. Yeah, no.
What do you I want to ask you, like, what's the I know, as much as you have so much passion and love for your work as a youth pastor, but but everybody out there that wants to choose that as something they want to do for their calling, because they feel it in their heart, yeah, go do it. But can you just talk about, it's not always easy, right? It's not always rainbow and sunshine. So can you talk about just the challenges of because I mean for me, just looking from the outside in, I feel like that there can be a lot of pressure on you because you're a pastor, and then you're the leader of the church, and you have to be perfect in society. So I feel like this is my observation, and that can be really, really hard. But I'm just interested to hear what the things that you went through.
Yeah. For me, I think one of the hardest parts is not seeing fruit immediately. Like, to give context, I do lead the high school youth of my church, but I was working as a youth pastor for a nonprofit organization. And so we weren't necessarily a part of a church. So the way that we would do outreach is literally go into the schools, into the Oakland schools, or literally just street evangelize, which is really just going to like parks where kids are playing. That sounds really weird, but going to parks where kids are playing. What I would do is I would bring like Gatorades, pizza, like, hey y'all, I feel like it's Oakland, so it's like people like have seen other people do that. I'm like, hey y'all, we have Gatorades or we have pizza. Could we tell you about Jesus? And then you could have a pizza. We just want to bless y'all. And so it was very different because we didn't, like they weren't kids that would just come to church because their parents told them to come to church.
Yeah.
And so that's just to give context for like my, stuff that I would deal with. But the hardest part was, not seeing like immediate fruit from kids, like telling people about Jesus, hoping and praying that they would follow Jesus, and then they wouldn't, Mm-hmm. And so I would say, like, if anybody wants to go into that profession or go into ministry, you just have to be faithful. Like, you have to be faithful, even when you don't see anything. And I know that, like, that could be for anything, but specifically for ministry, it's hard because you don't like you have these ideas of what success could look like, but at the end of the day, because it's a spiritual walk, it's like it might not look like that all the time. Like, you can get 20 kids, 30 kids, 50 kids in a youth service, but the goal isn't always just to get kids to church. The goal is that they would follow Jesus for themselves. And if they don't, it's hard. Like, it's hard because you pour out your life. Like, I'm like investing my life into these kids, into these people as like a shepherd, as a mentor. But if they don't want to follow God on their own, it's just their decision that they decided not to make. And I just can't like be so hard on myself, because it's not always a reflection of the pastor, but it's just life. And so yeah, so that was my hardest thing.
Hey, I want to ask you, because you're a youth pastor, and then and of course you're still young. To let you know, by the way, you're still young. you did you I don't know, did you had a hard did a lot of people like find it hard did you intimidate people to the point, like, because like you're young but also you're a pastor, so people within your generation connect, like feel like they can connect with you because like they see you as a pastor, like, okay, I don't think I can be friends with her because she's a youth pastor and she's too churchy for me. I think I'm just thinking because, like, my own relationship with, I'm just thinking about my own relationship with my own pastors in my own churches. Like, I always felt like, so I remember there were some pastors, like, I just like, oh my God, I don't think I connect with them because like they're just like
Yeah.
they're just too hardcore. But then I've had some pastors, even though as much as much respect that we see them, but they're really cool people at the end of the day when you really get to know them. But I remember growing up, like, I just try to avoid them because like I just felt like we can never connect because like he's all in my mind that's all they talk about is church. There's no personality. How can I connect with that person? Like that's all.
Know.
So do you have to? Does that often have? I want interested to hear. Kind of just does that happen to you? Like because being a young pastor, that's not often in our generation, in our age. Yeah. I asked you that question.
Yeah. I didn't know that was. I didn't realize that was people's thoughts of me until later. Like, like, yeah, people don't say that. They won't say that until later when they're like, oh, like, you're cool. But yeah, I guess to answer the question, yeah, I've had that. But at the end of the day, the way that I do life and like ministry is I like to be very real with people. I like to have very real relationships with people. I don't want it to feel, not only do I not want it to feel, but I actually don't even think that like it's far off, and as Polynesians, again, because I did not grow up in a Polynesian church or any church, I didn't even know that this was a thing. Like, I didn't know that people were like, oh, that's a pastor. Like, they're so high up. I'm like, nah, yes, we should honor them. We should honor them. Not saying that you shouldn't honor your pastors, but in the same way, I'm like, God, it's not, like, be you.
Yeah.
I love my favorite like compliment, even though like I'm, like I don't do compliments and I don't even like talking about myself in that way. But my favorite compliment is when people are like, I love that I can be myself around you, like, and not feel judged.
Yeah.
And so my thing is like, yeah, I'm not about to judge you. Like, I believe that I live my life with conviction, and I hope that, through our relationship, that you would see like that God does have a standard. But at the same time, it's like, if I am a daughter of God and that God loves me, I can be real with God, and I can be real with people. Like, I share my struggles with people. I share like what's hard about walking with God. I just feel like I share my life with folks. And that's just how I do mentorship, discipleship. But yeah, so I haven't gotten that often initially, but I do hear that a lot of people are like, oh, I thought you were gonna, like, like, it's too much. But I think I'm like, and God, even like, I like what you said about how it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that there's like a person behind, like you have this role as a pastor, but there's a person. I'm like, yeah, like God gives everybody just personalities. I'm like, I have a personality. And then, and so I guess if I were to share anything with people who like feel like, well, I can't tell my pastor anything, look for a mentor. Look for like a mentor, someone who is like in pastoral leadership, if you want that. But also, I also do see how a lot of leaders in church have hurt people, because it's like they've come from a very religious place and a religious mindset, where now it's like actually not even God centered, but it's like you centered, and you want that. And I've seen that in a lot of Polynesian spaces, where it's like the pastor has to be like, it's like so far off. I don't think that's okay, I'll be honest. So yeah. So I would,
Hey,
sorry, I say that because I see where people would, why people would feel like that.
I want to ask you. I don't know. Maybe this might be like a hot topic question. But I'm just going to ask because I remember I was talking about it with one of my guests on the previous podcast. Since we're on the subject of Polynesian pastors, and now this is my, and also this is the way I see it too. For me, like it doesn't seem right with me when the pastor is living well off more than the people in the church, if that makes sense, financially. So I know sometimes I see a lot of Polynesian pastors, just not some Polynesian pastors, but some pastors in certain denominations where, the money, the hard-earned money donations they take from the people, you can see it reflected in their lifestyle. And for me, like when I read the Bible, based on my understanding of it, that I always saw Jesus as a servant. That he always, as much, he was the king. He was the king. He deserved to come to this world and be the king and rule over. But he chose to serve and be a servant, and that's why Jesus' love is so great. But so for me, it's just like when I look at pastors that are just living a financially well life based from the money of the church, it doesn't number one, it doesn't. I feel like it doesn't make sense. And number two, I can't take their preach their words seriously. I feel like it's almost like hypocritical, like you telling the people to overcome their struggles, but you're living in and you're living in a house or well off, and I see there's a lot in today's churches too. So I'm just interested in just to hear your thoughts on it. Like do you think it's well, yeah, I'm just hearing your thoughts because I feel like for me it's like you're supposed to, as a calling of God, like you're supposed to serve the people. And give everything you have, and then like I said, that's a choice you have to make. Like if you go down that path, that's something that you're willing to accept. Because that's what Jesus did. Like he just lived among the people. He lived in people's houses. He didn't ask for anything. He just whatever the people gave him, he just that's what he used. And I feel like we kind of lost that since especially in this time. So, but I'm just interested to hear. But no, in the Polynesian culture, we love to throw money. We like in the churches. We like to throw money at that. We like to give the preachers, the pastor, all this in tongue we call it koloa, all these things, all these nice things. And then sometimes I see a lot of Polynesian pastors, it gets to their head and then they start taking advantage of it. So, but yeah, let me know your thoughts on that.
Yes. I have a lot of thoughts on this. So one, I guess I'll start with this, is that as a pastor, if you choose to do ministry full time, biblically, I don't think pastors should be poor, if I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't think they should be poor.
Yeah.
And I think that might be like a misconception that some people may have. It's like, oh, like why do you have whatever? It is a job, I believe. Like it is a job. It doesn't seem like it, but I'm like, wait, pastors need to pay their rent too. And so I think like I feel like a lot of folks, what I've heard is like, oh, like a pastor shouldn't be taking money from the church, and I think they might be saying that from like a place where it's like you shouldn't be taking more than what is allotted for you. Biblically, when people pay tithes and give offerings, it's like he says to the storehouse, meaning like for people where they get fed, right? And so I believe, yes, a pastor should there should be a whole financial plan where pastors are allotted an income, and that works through, like, it is through tithes and offering, right?
Yeah.
And so I do want to say that, because just before I go into this part where I'm like, I think people would be like, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, so I just want to set the stage with that. Is like, pastors shouldn't, I don't think they should be poor.
Yeah.
And I believe in giving, and that they should have an income. And if they want to do it full time, like, that's just their job. Like, you have to look at it as like, oh, you're a pastor, that is your career, that's your job. However, what I have seen in Polynesian churches, which just frustrates me, is the abuse of finances from the church. Like, I don't even know, and I can't even say like where it comes from, because I wasn't raised in Polynesian churches or in a Polynesian church, and I wasn't really around it until I was an adult. And I'm like, why are y'all announcing how much money people are giving?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That is where I'm like, wait, what? Like, it was so new to me. And I think that's, not only are you mishandling money, but you're like mishandling like what God is giving, like, and you're mishandling God's, what God has for you. And it becomes where it's like your love for money has superseded your love for God and your people. I know it's like, we could go on and on. That's like its own podcast too, I feel. But my idea of like ministry, and like, and I'm not like a pastor of a church, I am in leadership at church, but with like people, like, my idea is like living like amongst your people. And I think I haven't seen that a lot in Polynesian churches. Not all pastors are like that. Not all Polynesian pastors are like that. But I have seen where it's like, no, like, this is abuse. Like, you're literally you're emotionally abusing them. You're manipulating them into thinking like that I have to give more money. Of course, if it comes from the heart, I feel like for me, people have given me like a good chunk of money because they wanted to give. Like, it was like, hey, this, I want to give this to you as a gift. And so I understand that part, but when it comes to a point where it's like, you're manipulating your people to give more money than they can. So it's just a touchy subject too. That is a hot topic. You're right.
I know. Yeah. For me, it's just like, it just doesn't make sense to me when the servant is living a more lavish lifestyle than the people. So
right, like, no, I agree.
and then have the nerve to like ask them for more.
if I'm like, I'm serious, like, I didn't grow up in church, so I've never like been around that as a person who was like being pressured to give more money. But I would love to come across those people. Like, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is going, like, for real, like, what is going on, and why are you doing this?
Yeah.
I remember I went to a church one time and they were like, 20, give 40, you have 40, give 60. And I was like, I had my $20 bill, like, just to give in the basket. I was like, I'm gonna take my 20 back. You ain't getting nothing from me now. I was very frustrating because they spiritualize it. I'm like, don't spiritualize it. Like, you're being manipulative.
Yeah. So, yeah, you hear that all the time. God wants you to
really, for real? Oh gosh, Lord Jesus.
Yes, Jesus. This is what Jesus want. This is what God would want you to do.
Really? Is that normal? That's normal in like Polynesian churches?
No, like it's not all Polynesian churches, but I just heard it with some people would use religion as a way to like convince you. It's like they're being a salesman at this point. They're not being a pastor no more. They're being a salesman. Yeah. But they use it. But they use it in nice, in really good language. So if you don't look on, if you're not, if you don't look under the line, like you don't see the message behind what they're saying, But when people are faithful and they're really deep into the church, they don't see it. But I can just tell.
Yeah.
All right.
That makes sense.
Sorry.
I'm also not really educated on the area either, so.
No, yeah, like
take what you need, spit out what you don't.
Yeah. I do want to talk about purpose, because I know that's something you're really, really passionate about, and finding one's purpose. I've seen some of your videos online. You talk about purpose all the time, and I really believe purpose is, it is an important thing in life when it comes to happiness, love, relationships, success. Is finding your purpose in life, because I feel like, as people, we're goal driven, like human beings. Like, we have to have it. Like, everything in this world has its purpose. Like, animals don't know their purpose. But what separates everything in this world, it has a purpose: trees, birds, animals. But what makes us is different is, like, we have agency. Like, we have the power of choice. But the thing is, I feel like is if you don't know your purpose, or if you don't know where you're working towards to, your value, your worth in this life, I feel like that can cause a lot of unhappiness. If you feel like that you're all alone and there's nothing, you're not worth anything and no value in this world. And one thing I've always noticed about people, they're always happy, they're always living joyful and fulfilling lives. It's like they know their purpose in life. They know why they wake up every single morning. They know what they're supposed to do, and they find joy, and they find love and joy acting upon what their passions in life. So can you talk about purpose? Why it's so hard, try to find your purpose, how to find it, and the struggles of you see working with different types of people, of why they really, really find it hard to find their purpose in life?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question too. So when I think about purpose, yeah, I agree with you. Like, everything has a purpose in life, and they do it. Like, like the purpose of, let's say, okay, the purpose of the shore is so that the entire ocean doesn't flood the world. The purpose of a phone is so that I can communicate and make calls, and it does what it needs to do. But as humans, because we have that freedom of choice to either you choose to know your purpose or you don't have to. And so when I talk about and when I think about purpose, I'm like, if everything has a purpose, but humans are the ones with the soul, humans are the ones that are created by God, created by God with his breath, then we should know our purpose. If the creator of a computer, let's just stick there. If the creator of the computer knows the function for a computer, and that's what the computer does, and the computer starts overheating and doing all these things, I know, like, the creator knows, like, oh, it's not working in its function. It's not working in what it was purposed to do. If you try to put a piece of toast on a computer, it's not going to toast the computer, or it's not going to toast the bread, because it's not created to make toast, right? And the creator knows that. And so in the same way, humans have a purpose, because we are created beings. And so if God is our creator and the creator of the universe, then we should know why God created us, right? We should know the purpose of why we're created. And I think a lot of people correlate purpose with career. And while that could be, like, yes, I'm doing my career because it's part of my purpose, but it's actually not ultimately. And so, and so I think that is the reason why people have a hard time being like, oh, I don't have purpose because I don't know what job to get. I'm like, well, purpose is not in your job. Like, it could be a part of it could be the means of which you fulfill your purpose, but it is not actually your purpose. You know what I mean?
What is your definition of purpose?
Your why you exist.
Why you exist. Okay.
Why you exist. So if I am created by, and sorry, this might even get like weird too, but like if I'm created by God, there was a reason why he created me.
Got you.
If
Got
I
you.
ask if I ask somebody like who wants to have children, why do you want to have kids? Like, and they're trying and they can't. A lot of their reasoning is because I want to love them. So in the same way, like I actually exist, we exist to be loved by God, right? Like that is my purpose, is to be a daughter of God and to be loved by God. Um, and so if you know that, and when you realize that I am created to be loved by God, now you can start thinking like, well, God, what is my vision? What is the mission of my life? Because purpose and mission are actually very different, right? And so, yeah.
What's the difference?
Sorry,
What's
I
the
can go
difference
into,
between
like, I
mission?
literally teach a whole class about this.
It's all good. So good. What's the difference between, just for everybody that's listening? What's the difference between mission and purpose?
So purpose is why you were created
Mm-hmm.
and why you exist, and then mission is how you accomplish your vision, your life vision.
Got you.
Yeah. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Keep going. Yeah, you're on a roll there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, because I literally, so I teach classes about this all the time, but we talk about purpose. My purpose, I am created to be loved by God. My vision for what I believe that God has given me a vision for is to see people live a meaningful life or a meaningful and impactful life and know the call of God over their life, right? Mm-hmm. And so if that's my vision, then that's what I want to accomplish. And so how do I accomplish that? For me, I started an organization called Oakland Pacific Islander Network. I started a business that helps people know their purpose and walk in that. I do one-on-one like coaching with people and all those things. And so that is like my mission, right? But that helps me accomplish the vision of like, at the end of this mission, at the end of me working with you, you should know like that you have a meaningful life and you should be living that meaningful life. And so now I feel like I'm going on a rant, but yeah, so I would say that.
So based on the people you work with and also the things that you teach, what are the things that people struggle with trying to finding their purpose? Also, what are things that stopping them from finding their purpose? And how do you recognize? And then I guess that's the question. A lot of young people, especially our generation, in their 20s, like how do you recognize and find your purpose?
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. I'm like, wait. Where do I start? Where I start is how do I recognize my purpose? One, I mean, like I shared that whole rant to share like I can't even know like fully what my purpose is if I don't understand that I am a created being. That's where it starts. Honestly, that's where I start when I coach people, when I help people, is like you have to recognize that you are a created being, and that's where it starts. So that's one. Two, like knowing who you are, like knowing what you value, knowing your different talents, your gifts, and all your skills, and then knowing like that, yes, I am also a product of my environment, of how I grew up, and so even past experiences all play into, like how I find my life vision. But yeah, so I would say that. So, and then one thing I think people have a hard time with even starting is time. They don't prioritize it. They're like, I will think about this later. I just need to work. And so it goes back to like that whole survival mentality. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, at this point, if you are delaying the process of learning and finding your life vision and pursuing it, then everything else is a waste of time. It really is. Like, okay. And so that is how, what I would say like people struggle with the most is when they associate both, like not associate, what's the word? It's like they think like, oh, in order to find my purpose or to have purpose, I have to have a good career. But that's actually not always the case.
Oh yeah, they define their purpose based on like society's beliefs.
Yeah. They define their purpose based on what society says and even their career.
Got you. I want to ask you a question. When it comes to purpose, does, because this is my definition of purpose, right? My definition of purpose is it's a little bit different from yours. It's a little bit different from yours, because I know you just come from a more spiritual standpoint. But for me, I believe your purpose in life is something that you love to do, you enjoy doing, and gives you happiness. But and all that adds value to people's lives and make their lives better. So whatever you love to do, whatever that work is, whatever that career is or path you want to take, that you really enjoy doing, and at the same time it gives you so much joy, makes you happy in your life, makes you fulfilled, and also it helps other people, and makes the world better. I feel like that's my definition of purpose. So I do want to ask you is, can one fulfill their purpose without adding value to people's lives? Is that possible? Or I'm just interested in hearing.
I think so. No, no.
Yeah. Because you talk about career, right? I know a lot of people are very career oriented and they just love building a career. And but then also, because I'm sure some people out here right now that have a career, right? But then they're like, man, I have a career, I'm doing really well in life, and I'm successful. Like, do I need a purpose? Yeah. I'm just trying to like put myself in other people's shoes and their questions.
Yeah.
Can you fulfill your purpose and not like try to make this world a better place and just kind of do you? Is that possible or no?
If you live a self-centered life, yeah, that's possible. I mean, like,
I'm just asking your experience. Yeah, like.
No. Yeah. I would say no.
Yeah.
I would say no. Yeah, I would actually preach against that. Again, like, my idea comes from like, if my purpose is to be loved by God, and my life vision is to share the love of God with people, because like I don't know, sorry, I'm gonna get into, can I get into preachy mode?
Yes, please.
Okay. So if I am a Christian, if I am a daughter of God, like, I desire what my Father desires. I desire that people would have a relationship with Jesus. And my dream is, yes, that people would have a meaningful life, but that meaningful life comes from having and being fulfilled by Jesus. And so my vision, like, ultimately is to share the gospel to people. How do I do that? I'm doing that by, all the things that I already mentioned. And so, like, if I'm encouraging people, like, yes, you are called to, whatever it is, like, whatever career that you want to do, but ultimately is so that people know Jesus. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so if I'm not helping you know that, then I'm not living a purposeful life. So yeah, I would say no. From my standpoint, no, absolutely not.
Okay. What about those people like you said, like that weren't born in the church, and they don't know Jesus, but they are good human beings? Like, is that, would they still able to live their purpose? I'm just thinking about different things.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, what makes a human being good?
I feel like it's just your morals and your character, how you treat people. I feel like I feel like that's what a good person does, is not helping and adding value to other people. Treat them the way you want to be treated. Just the decent, just being a decent human being. Yeah.
But. Yeah. Okay, so like being a decent human being, for me, I don't believe that humans are born good. And the only good person and what is good is God. And so if I want to be even like close to being close to God, then how do I do that? I have to go through Jesus. Jesus makes me good.
Yeah.
Because like I can't be with God forever if just by doing good deeds. Like you can do that and it could be helpful in like a human standpoint. You are feeding the poor. Like that is really beautiful. I'm not saying not to do those things, but I'm saying like at the end of the day, if I'm not sharing the love of Jesus with people, then I don't believe that people are living a purposeful life unless it's like being fulfilled by God. Yeah, that's where it gets like controversial, I know, but yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And yeah, I feel like for me it's like when you love God, like it's like you're serving somebody. And when you serve somebody, you always be willing to make more sacrifices than if you don't serve somebody. If that, I don't know if that makes sense. So if you're only living for yourself, of course you can still be a good human being living for yourself, but you won't be able to do certain things or make certain sacrifices or even be a more of a, I guess, a better person if you've never experienced of like serving that your creator. I
Yeah.
think I guess I'm just trying to think about that. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's why. What are the questions you get a lot from the youth? Because I feel like all the youth people watching this, that's one of like what do they ask you specifically about purpose? Or, I know one of them is time. I know one of the hardest things about youth is like because society has uh, I don't know who made this timeline that we're supposed to figure out life by like 25, 30.
I know. I don't know who did that either.
For some reason, everybody. That's what I see. I see a lot of kids struggle with this. Like they feel like they have to have that. They have to have their life figured out either by 25 or by 25, and then 30 is like the cutoff stage. And if you don't have your life figured out by 30, then it's game over. You're too old. You're too. You just. But right, and then which is absolutely false. But we need to get out. We need to get out that mindset. Age is it's just a number.
Right, it is.
I think one of my favorite things I like to tell myself is like, when it comes to God's plan for you, you're never ahead or never behind. You're always exactly where you need to be, and what you need to figure out is just the next step. So a lot of times people feel like that. They're always and of course social media does kind of amplify and make you feel worse, to feel like you are behind everybody, or make it feel like you're too ahead of people. It's like you're always comparing your life to everybody. So but yeah, for the youth that you work directly with, I know time can be one, especially for women, because you guys have your biological clocks. I think it's more pressure for you guys.
We're trying to get married and have kids.
So that can be more pressure. Guys, we tend to be loose when it comes to like our timeline. We don't really care.
I didn't realize that that's why guys weren't Russian, but yeah.
Yeah. So so what? So besides the timeline, what else do you see like a lot of young people struggle with as far as like trying to figure out their life purpose and living a fulfilling life?
Yeah. It's a lot. But what I have seen is they just don't want to. They don't want to, they don't know, they don't realize like, I need to live a purposeful life. Yeah, and so I think that's the biggest thing, is like pushing through the layer of like, it's not always like life is not just like your next 1 year, and I feel like a lot of youth are
the YOLO mindset.
Blind. What was that? Yeah. Like you only live once. Oh gosh. But yeah, I think they're blinded by that, like, oh, it's just 1 year, and they think very short term.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, for me, like I work with like inner city kids too, like inner city Pacific Islanders. One of my friends calls it like, I don't want to say his dissertation name, but he's like, they come from two strong communities or environments where it's like very Polynesian, but also very Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And so in working with like inner city kids, it's also that is like getting them out of the mindset of, again, like survival mode, and helping them realize, hey, like there's more, there's more to life. But I would say that. So when it comes to like even purpose questions, they don't even ask that. They don't even ask questions about purpose. It's like, just how do I get by? How do I live a life to be a Christian? You know, from my standpoint, they're like, how do I be a Christian? How do I walk with God? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sorry. I know that doesn't necessarily answer that exact question, but it's because they don't even ask questions like that because they don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I think I recognize that too. I feel like because of technology, it's kind of distracted people from like living their purpose. Like now, everybody just now what I see now, all these kids, all they care about is like social media, making being on TikTok.
I love TikTok.
Yeah, I love TikTok, by the way. But I feel like social media has kind of like painted this picture for everybody. Oh, just live your life. Don't worry about the future. Just
Gosh, yeah.
which is I love it too. I mean, I do believe in living and enjoying the moment, but
Right.
But I also do believe in making sure that you live a life as you do prepare for your future. And
Yeah.
I do feel like I guess the word is too lackadaisical, like they're just too
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
they're just more concerned about the now, but never thinking about the future.
Yeah, you're not even aware of the
Yeah,
things.
So they never even try, and then of course when you're young, you feel like you have all the time in the world. Oh, I'm still young. I'm still 19. I'm still 20. I got the years ahead of me. But then, but I don't know if you realize. I don't know. Do you feel this way when you get older? Like you feel like time goes by faster when you get older?
Yes. Yeah, I'm about
like,
to be 30.
like, I don't know. Like when you get older, the days just like go by so fast, and you're more aware of when you waste a day.
Oh no, that literally, you are aware of like, oh dang,
I just wasted a day.
Wasted a whole day.
I didn't.
You woke up at 10. You wasted a whole day.
I absolutely did nothing today for my life.
Yeah, no, that's very.
So yeah, I guess I want to go into one of the topics that we talked about before the podcast. This is probably going to be another hot topic, but I feel like this is something you like. You get ready for these type of topics. So I do want to go into talking about relationships, dating, and of course, sex before marriage.
Yeah.
So because I feel like that's a tough. The reason why that's a hot topic, especially being if you're trying to live a Christian life, right? So and of course we know most Christian values. You wait till you get married before you have sex. But of course, in culture today, sex is just a normal thing that just people just do, just like brushing your teeth. It's just something you just do.
Sir, yes, they do.
The value of
they do.
The value and importance of sex is not as it's not cherished and respected compared back in the day. Usually, I mean, the way my parents, I saw like the older generation, the way they talk about, I guess, the OGs, they always talk about how, sex is something you share with somebody you love, with somebody you intimately connect with. But today it's just something we just do for fun.
No.
All right, so so you talk about that, dating, relationships, and then of course the topic about sex for marriage and people having sex before marriage. I guess a lot of people feeling like, okay, if I have sex before marriage, does that not make me a Christian? Or does not make me worthy, or whatever? Yeah. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts and your experience of working with a lot of kids too.
Okay. Wait. This is too okay. Where do we start? Can you ask me a specific question so I can start?
Okay. All right. So okay. You work with a lot of youth. Okay, I guess because there's a lot of young people watching. Okay, what do the young adults are trying to live Christian lives? Do they come up to you and talk about sex and dating? And what are the
Yes.
what are their main concerns, and what are the things they struggle with that you hear and you see?
Yeah, they all want to have sex.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even a value, honestly. Like,
do they tell you the reason why? Like, why do they want to have sex? Is it, do you know? Or
just because that's what they do. Like,
yeah, the culture.
that's,
Yeah, okay.
that's just what they do.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I feel even like
it's the culture now. Yeah.
It's just a culture. Like, it's on actually not even a thing of like, oh, I want to. It's actually what I've seen with my youth and young adults is like, I'm doing that and there's no problem with it. Yeah. That's my issue. So they don't even come to me with the issue of like, oh my gosh, like I want to have sex, but I'm not married. It's actually like, oh, I'm having sex.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what are you doing? And so yeah, I would say that it's actually more of that than actually like asking questions, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you feel like do you feel like a lot of girls, because I feel like I've heard this from girls before, where there's guys like, we expect that, in the relationship. If you're not gonna willing to give it up, then like I'm not gonna be in a relationship with you. I mean,
I know.
So I know a lot of good Christian girls that want to save that moment with somebody they get married with, but they can really be hard to find that guy to even have a long enough relationship, because as soon as they find out that, oh, you don't have sex, oh, okay, and then either they ghost you, or like they pretend they're in a relationship with you, but they find it somewhere else and they're like cheating on you. So can you talk about that? The being a Christian and trying to find a guy. Do you struggle with that also? Like, in your own personal relationships of trying to. I mean, I don't know if are you single or do you have somebody?
I'm single. Hey, everybody. My name is Alina.
Okay.
My number is 626.
But do you struggle with that, trying to find a guy to be in a long enough committed relationship with you? And also I want to ask you, do you tell him, like, how long do you wait before you tell him, okay, just to let you know?
Immediately.
But how? Yeah, you can talk about your experience. Yeah. Talk about that.
So I think when people think of me and they hear me talking about this stuff, they think that I'm like, oh yeah, she's just this little corny Christian virgin. I lost my virginity when I was 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And and I was having sex as a teenager. Sorry. I hope this is okay for me to talk about on your
podcast. Of course.
I don't want to sound disrespectful, because again, I know like Polynesians are like, why would you talk about that with, but I want to share my story because it is literally my testimony.
Yeah.
So I was having sex throughout as a teenager. And so when I became a Christian, that was actually the very first thing that God convicted me of is, hey, like this is a sin. It is a sin to have sex outside the context of marriage. And I was like, okay, like that for me, that was like, that's what I was convicted of. And so that was the story, or that was like where I was, and like the temptations that I have struggled with and all those things. And even after that, I fell into the temptation again and again. And I was a Christian. Like, this is not me, like, I don't know anything. This is actually literally me professing like, Jesus is my Lord. I'm a Christian. These are the convictions, but I was like falling into temptation. And so I'm not coming from a standpoint where I'm like, everybody that's over there, you guys stop doing that. I'm like, this is my life. And so since then, I actually have been like very single for the past 8 years. Mm-hmm. Like, last year was the first year that I went on a date. Out of all those, like, literally. And so I was like, okay, Lord, I am going to commit my life to you, and I want to honor you by abstaining from sex until I am married. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, so that was the whole thing. So yeah, that's just my story. And then after that, even, or since then, I don't even remember your question, sorry. Can you cut that part off of the podcast? I know I wanted to share my story before I answered the question so that I gave context.
Yeah. Share. I'm just I just want you to talk about the struggle of being a Christian woman and trying to find a meaningful relationship from men in this culture today, where men already expect that, expect sex immediately from you, and if you don't, they just don't give you no time of day and move on to the next one. And that could be really, really hard for a lot of Christian girls out there that really do want to serve God and really love their Creator, but it's just the culture today is really, really hard to find that guy.
Oh yeah. I also don't think that that's the only thing that you should be looking for either. Like, like that's not the only standard for a, like, when I'm looking for a relationship.
No, I'm just I'll just talk about from the guy's perspective. Yeah, guys.
Oh, I know, and that's so weird to me. That's so weird to me because I'm like, dang. And so yeah, it has been hard, but I would say, like, I still think it's worth it. Like, I really do believe in God's standard still, and even if it sounds very old school, like, I am 100% convinced that, like, I can still honor God, and if that means like that. It might take a little longer to be in a relationship with someone who has the same convictions and the same standards for me or as me, then I'm like, it's okay with me. But that has come from like literally 9 years now of like unlearning what love is and learning again, And so I know I'm saying this like it probably is very seamless where I'm like, yeah, I can wait. But that's because I've been waiting for 9 years now. I have, even like in that time, like I wouldn't even give men the time of day even. And so now in this past year and a half, when I'm like even open to it, I ran into that problem where like I was kind of dating somebody or getting to know each other to where literally the next step would be like, hey, we're in a relationship. But that was like,
you brought it up.
Yeah, I was like, hey.
What was his reaction?
He was like, yeah, that's like, I'm not gonna suppress myself. I was like, but I understand that, but like I believe like that it honors God when we are like living righteously before him or trying and like really asking for strength. I don't think anybody can be right with God without Jesus, like without the help of Jesus. So it's like really like striving for that and striving to live in that way. So he was like not having it. Or he said he was like, oh well, I could try. And so our conversation was like, well, I don't want you to try just for that. Like, I want you to try because I want you to have, like, I want you to try, like, to honor God, not just to not have sex. But yeah, and that's actually why we parted ways, was because of that, like, harsh disagreement. So, yeah. But I haven't even talked to that many guys where I don't even know, like, is that what people are? I didn't know that a lot of men were like that. So that's us.
Oh yeah. I want to ask you. I mean, I'm just I'm always trying to play hypotheticals. But what if you met somebody that was like really good dude, really good guy, but that was the only thing that was stopping him? Would you entertain it or not? Not really.
Like, I would not entertain it, but not because of that, but because I think like not wanting to suppress yourself in that way is deeper than just like not physically having sex. For me, like I believe that if you are having sex before marriage, that is a sin. And so if you're committing sin against God, like that's like and if you're committing sin against God and you're okay with that,
yeah,
then that becomes like a character flaw to me. Like, I'm like, that's a character flaw. Then that's deeper than you just wanting to have sex. Everybody wants to have sex. Like, for real, like it's not the physical part that I'm concerned about. It's like, I'm concerned that you are okay with being in sin.
yeah.
So yes, I would say no, I would not entertain that if they are not willing to. Yeah, that's very controversial. If this gets posted, when it gets posted, I know I'm about to get some this.
Yeah, so I do want to ask you, because there will be a lot of, I'm sure there will be a lot of people watch this, and a lot of girls will like probably like criticize it. Who who do you because it's just because like who do you think you are to tell girls?
Yeah.
Right, coming from a place of like you think you're better than us, or you're self-righteous.
No.
I guess self-righteous. So I know a lot of people might have that about you, but like I said, at the end of the day, everybody has their own life and has their own beliefs, and whatever you feel like you want to do for your life, all power to you. Do you meet a lot of like for those for the girls that do like I'm just trying to say, what is like because you had both ways, like you had relationships with sex, and you had relationships without, and now you're working towards being a relationship without sex. So in your own experience, like what's the benefit of a woman abstaining from, because I know there's a lot of girls watching this and then they're young, or they're trying to figure out that, should I have sex or should I wait? Should I stay true to myself and not give into the pressure of a guy, not because they feel like they won't get the attention of a guy. So I was interested in you, because you've experienced both. So what is something that what is like the benefit from, or something you learned from not having sex that a lot of people never know if they never went down that path? Because like I said, a lot of girls want to judge you, but the thing is they never lived through your life and gone through your circumstances. So what did you learn on your path of abstaining from sex, and I guess it kind of helped you or added value to you or made you a better person, or things that most people would never experience until you go down that path?
Yeah. For me, again, I think like when we decide whether that's your struggle or whether it's a different struggle, ultimately like what sin does is it separates you from God. Like it stops, like it separates you from God. It pulls you away from your relationship with God. And it, like, if you choose to like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like willingly choosing that, you are ultimately like substituting your God whole, if that makes sense. Like God should be satisfying your heart and your life. And so when I substitute those things, or when I have substituted those things to fulfill or for my own self pleasure, I'm ultimately like walking away from God, right? Or that's what I'm choosing if I do it willingly. And so what I've learned even like now is that if Jesus cannot fulfill me, like, or if something, like if I'm living a life where it's like I'm looking for ways to be fulfilled, and it's not in Jesus, then I am not actually fulfilled, if that makes sense. And so so that's what I've learned is like my fulfillment and that's not the word I'm looking for. My satisfaction comes from Jesus only. And so even like, I think, especially culture and society, we do not like the idea of denying ourselves. But even like, if you are any type of, like, you're trying to follow Jesus at all, like literally Jesus says, pick up your cross and follow me. And that means like when I pick up my cross and follow Jesus, that sometimes I do have to deny myself of things that I want, that like, like, does that make sense? Like I have to deny myself of those things if I'm truly trying to follow Jesus. And so even though it's like, yeah, and so even if it is like physically hard for me, like literally it is a struggle. Like it is a struggle when I, you know, like if you like somebody and you want to be around them, like you want to be physical with them, but at the end of the day, like if I'm trying to follow God and follow Jesus, I I do have to deny myself of those things. And I also heard from my married friends, they're like, just wait, it's better when you're married anyway. And so like, and so yeah, so I believe that God, you know, has a time and a context, or there's a context for everything. And sex in marriage with between a man and a woman is what I believe the context for sex is. Even God created sex. So I'm like if God created sex, I want to do things the way that God created it. So yeah. Yeah, so to answer your question, it's just being satisfied by Jesus and knowing like that I exist because of him and I want to live for him. And ultimately does satisfy me. That was a lot of words, but yeah, you know. I hope you know what I mean.
Yeah. What do you for all those, you know, for all those girls that are trying to be Christians and you know, and they end up having sex, and it's and so now sometimes people feel too hard on themselves because they didn't. So what do you say to that? What do you say? Why do you say to that?
Yes, if man, okay, I have a heart for this because that was me. Like I was like following Jesus, and then I'm like, dang it, I did it again.
Yeah.
But I would say like that it is one to repent of your sin, and two that when you repent, know that you are forgiven by God.
Mm-hmm.
And that you can still live for God. You know, I think like a lot of people, they just have a hard time. You know, they're like, well, now I can't. I'm like, no, but you do understand that there is forgiveness for you when it's available for you. And so, yeah, I would say that, like, repent, know that you are forgiven by God, and know that you are loved by God, and that God will give you the strength and, yeah, I believe that God will even give you the strength to fight temptation if you ask for it. So that's what I would say. You are not disqualified if you have fallen into sin. Let's just say that you are not disqualified. You are loved by God.
Yeah, I mean, I can, I mean, my honest opinion when it comes to sex in relationships, I guess, when you're younger, you know, that's all you think about is sex. That's the culture. So,
You're old.
so when I look at my younger days, you know, it's crazy. Like all the relationships I got into when it was more physical, that was like that's what sparked the relationship was a physical aspect. It never worked out. But then now lately, like, you know, lately when I realized in the relationship where we focus more on the mental and emotional and connect, you know, in the connection with the person. I feel like those are always relationships that last forever. So I guess for everybody out there that's watching this, I guess, you know, my little 2 cents on this is I guess when it comes to finding a good partner, sex is not gonna keep the relationship. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
And then sometimes we feel like that's the culture now. Okay, like I'm trying to find that the most beautiful person, the physical attractive person, the person I can have the best sex with. But then my experience, and then just much also have friends too, just like when the reason why they got attracted was physical, it never lasted, because once it's over, because like sex is everything else,
that's your foundation for the relationship.
It becomes repetitive, gets old, and then what keeps a relationship, keeps you interested in somebody is like you're loving them mentally and emotionally, mentally and spiritually connecting with them. So for anybody out there, I guess I'll say if you have the discipline to wait, I would say, I mean, I don't want to sound hypocritical coming from me.
Okay.
But if I guess wait and find somebody, I feel like you said, the right person for you will respect your wishes, and if they're willing to respect your wishes, for sex, then that means they're willing to respect your wish, your mind, your body, your spirit, and everything. So,
Yeah.
so all the guys out there, you know, Alina
I don't
right
think.
here.
Okay. Yes. Oh yes. But I don't think like I know it's like I'm speaking to women, but I would say the same thing for men. Like men, I would just say like it should be both ways. Like
no, yeah, that's
men
what I'm saying.
should be a
Both men and
thing
women.
too. Yeah. So
Yeah,
but yeah, hey,
yeah, like even the guys too. Like I know when the guys all we have this like masculinity culture. Okay, like, your number, how many women you sleep with, that's like the trend now to look cool, to feel good about yourself. I know people. I know people right now. I have friends right now that statistically, when it comes to their body count, it's really high, but they can't keep a relationship to save their life. They can't keep a. They don't have to. I mean, they don't have trouble. I mean, they don't have trouble sleeping with women. But the thing is, like they struggle with finding a real relationship. And then I know guys that barely get any attraction in their whole life, but then they find that one girl and they end up connecting with them and marrying forever.
Yeah.
So I know, so for everybody out there, to find the right person for you, I guess, and focus more. I know it's hard. Most people never do it, but just try to put more emphasis on the mental, emotional when it comes to meeting somebody, and not the physical. All right, sounds good. So, man, we've talked about a lot today.
I know we did. Dang.
We talked about a lot. So
good stuff, though.
Yeah, we a lot of good topics, a lot of nice hot topics, and I know definitely a lot of people that's still watching, definitely talked about things a lot of people can relate to. I guess I just want to say, when you're coming to the end of this podcast, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for sharing your perspective, your story, your experiences, and just being you, sharing being yourself, and just sharing your thoughts, and not being afraid to put yourself out there. So I just want to thank you for your courage, because a lot of people don't realize, like, it takes a lot of courage to open yourself up. It takes a lot of courage to talk about your life.
I'm ready for the backlash already.
So thank you so much, because I feel like there's a lot of things you said that a lot of people needed to hear. Definitely empower and help people in their lives. So I guess one thing I always ask every guest on every show, and is to see if you can end the show with some final thoughts. I'll be sharing some final thoughts, some words of wisdom. After everything you've gone through your life, being a Christian, finding God, finding your purpose, living a happy, fulfilled life, and sharing a story, you can just share some final thoughts to everybody and some words of wisdom, everybody, to just end off the podcast.
Yes, my final words of wisdom, encouragement, final thoughts is that you are loved by God. Yeah, that you are loved by God so much, and that He desires to have a relationship with you, and that painful experiences, all the things that we talked about, doesn't define you. Like it really doesn't. Like, we think about all these things like, oh my gosh, what if I fell into sin? What if I don't have a purpose? What if all these like things about Polynesians? It's like, it doesn't actually define you. Like you are defined, and you have and find your identity in God. And so that's what I'd say. And that I love y'all. And that you do have a purpose. Yeah, I think both. Yeah, I like to end off my thing with that, is to be encouraged that you are loved by God.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for a great podcast. I want to give you a big hug with that big Zoom hug.
Thank you, Will.
Everybody, thank you for watching. I'm gonna go ahead and press stop right now, and I'll talk to you right after.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.